Muy buenas chavales, bienvenidos y bienvenidas a otro vídeo para el canal. ¿Qué tal estáis chicos? ¿Qué tal esa semanita que ya está acabando? Se viene el fin de semanita y a mí no se me ve una puta mierda. Ay, de verdad, hoy estoy haciendo el vídeo a una buena hora, pero ya nos quedamos sin luz, así hay un poquito más de luz, perfecto ahí. Haciendo luz de las un poquito más grande. Me tengo que comprar una, ¿cómo se llama? Joder, un foco. No me sé la palabra, me tengo que comprar un foco de estos baratitos que me dé una luz suficiente para no tener estos problemas. Que mira que estamos en verano, pero joder, son las 7 de la tarde y ya hay poquilla luz. Así que nada, que lo que decía, que espero que vayáis a tener un fin de semana tranquilo, descansando, disfrutando con los amigos, la pareja, la familia. Y que tenéis que currar, como siempre os digo, muchísimo ánimo, que los currantes de fin de semana sois la hostia, que lo sepáis. Así que nada, hoy nos despedimos la semana con un vídeo de la DBDLEAGUE, que el miércoles no pudo ser posible el vídeo de la Vogue Liga porque hubo PTV, así que es lo que hay. Eso sí, hoy traigo un muy buen partido, CYNIC contra CYNIC. A CYNIC les he visto muchísimo más jugar que a CYNIC, así que a CYNIC les conozco poquillo, realmente. Conozco de los juegos que tienen, creo que a 2 o 3 nada más, al resto no sé nada de ellos, porque os digo, les he visto muy poquito jugar. Y nada, pero Senior sí que tenía muchas ganas de verles porque son, ya veis aquí, nombres que ya no sonaron a la mayoría. Jason, Vinny, SMS. Gustavo no le conozco, pero vamos, está aquí, debe ser también un puto crack. Y Ángel Z, que sí que le conozco, el main killer de Cynic, que yo sepa. Así que nada, se va a venir un partidazo. Yo solo os digo, no sé quién gana, ¿vale? No tengo ni idea de quién gana. Pero va a haber killers muy fuertes. De hecho, el que vamos a ver primero, lo desconocido, es el killer menos fuerte de todos, ¿vale? Van a ser killers en plan tier este o por ahí. Ya lo iremos viendo en el futuro. No voy a decir qué killers hay para crear un poquito de incógnita. Y nada, lo desconocido, ya sabéis, un killer muy fuerte, pero hace falta jugar muy perfecto con él. El tener errores con el gapo, sobre todo el segundo gapo, te castiga muchísimo como killer, ¿vale? Porque no solo tienes que volver a meter el primero, sino que todo el tiempo que te ha llevado a meter el primero, que puede ser perfectamente 30 segundos, lo pierdes por completo. Entonces es un killer que requiere mucha perfección, es un killer fuerte, pero requiere jugarlo a muy alto nivel, y cuando los oponentes juegan tan bien, pues obviamente es muy complicado, una movilidad muy alta por el mapa. Y por regla general, en este mapa no se están haciendo ni 2K normalmente. A lo mejor ahora nos sorprenden y se hacen 4K aquí de repente, pero os digo, requiere jugarlo muy perfecto y que los oponentes obviamente también cometan errores. Así que nada, todo pers de motores, las más fuertes del meta, como siempre. Y nada, vamos a ver qué tal lo hace Ángels, que yo recuerde, juega muy, pero que muy bien. A ver, todos juegan muy bien en la de League, pero ya me entendéis. Ángel, sin duda, destaca, o al menos es lo que yo recuerdo. Así que nada, vamos para allá.
Season X is a huge second chance for Sinners. As said, Season 9 was not really going as they wanted this, and therefore they...
Iba muy buena, porque el suplente aquí muy atento, habrá ido hacia aquí, porque es más difícil, ¿sabéis? En plan, cuanto más lejos, los desconocidos lo tienen más fácil para aceptar la bomba. Eso los supervivientes, creedme que son tan buenos que lo tienen en cuenta. Entonces habrá hecho salto y para acá. Porque meter aquí una bola tienes que apuntar muy para arriba para que sobrepase la pared, ya que está más cerca.
They're going to come back strong now.
¿Veis? Ha ido por aquí, y
they're going to show us the best that they have.
Tiran pared de una para protegerse, ¿vale? No se puede lupear a lo desconocido en plena necesidad de pared, ¿vale? Es muy difícil y va a ser hit casi siempre. Así que pared para protegerse.
And that means that we are going to see a very strong start from Gustavo, Jason, Winnie, and
Iba muy buena ahí, pero frente muy atento se iba a hacer la derecha.
SMSFL down there. So let's see if Angels can keep the survivors under control. If we see a good few UVX shots.
Qué buena el Vinny, aquí hay que tener una templanza para no saltar cuando ves la luz roja de la hostia. Perfecto, Vinny.
At the beginning of this trial, trying for the mind game here doesn't work.
Muy buenos petardos para que le pierda un poquito de vista.
So far, Firecracker coming out, so Vinny utilizing immediately the resources that they have at hand.
¿Veis? Le ha hecho falta un palet y que su frente juegue bien para que el killer tenga que dropear. No puede continuar con la
And that's a very understandable decision. You want to delay the first injury. You want to delay the risk as much as possible. Off to a good start for Sinners, I feel like.
Aquí Gustavo ha ido full recto por el pastillo. Eso es hit sí o sí.
Absolutely. And Gustavo taking a weakened state there from Angels. definitely pressuring these survivors early on in the game by taking some resources out. Even though not getting an injure, the pallets being removed from the map is definitely going.
Si os fijáis, siempre Ángel con los conocidos se va intentando cubriendo con las estructuras para que Gustavo no se quite el moco de encima.
To be useful later on.
Hacia allí, se ha ido hacia allá. ¿Por qué? Porque el moco allí es muy difícil darlo aquí, ¿vale? Muy difícil, entonces estará por allí.
But that being said, hopefully we'll see either a follow-up to this UBX or...
No tenía mala pinta, pero era muy complicado.
Gustavo can get out of there and make it to another tile.
Ha dejado el de este
Finally entering chase here.
Buah, error gigante. Lo hubiese dado, porque justo os fijáis justo ahora, el amarillo es cuando se ha quitado, así que lo hubiese golpeado.
A UBX hit here, no.
Y aquí es error de Ángel, ¿vale? Porque aquí Gustavo lo había hecho mal, había tomado una mala decisión.
Barely misses it. That was extremely close, though. I think I've seen some
No se dio paleta aquí pues sin paleta.
cases where that's hit before. But still going to the chase. M1 coming through on to Gustavo here. Can we see a follow-up to this UBX right here?
This would be the great move, right? Just afterwards, but Gustavo getting
Le van a volar dos motores sin nada.
rid of the power for now. So
Muy bien aquí Gustavo, se va de esta estructura para el Jungle Gym.
Angels either back to a classic and one killer or in need of another good shot coming out, able to deliver that. Gustavo dropping the
Ha puesto TP ahí detrás, no creo que Gustavo salga aquí con vida, sinceramente.
pallet early, very understandable. Will we see a nice bounce shot? That's the question here, but Gustavo being on the outside of the tile now, not expecting
Muy bien, no tira el M1 al palet, aguanta con saca la polla y hit, perfecto.
though this quick
Normalmente tío, mínimo son dos motores esto, mínimo.
teleport. Great move from Angels. One down in exchange for one generator. That's definitely going to make the survivor.
Le han metido dos motores y ya usó gancho flagrante en un tercero, así que ya hay uno que está bastante, bueno, avanzado.
Team feel good, especially with the second generator right afterwards. So one thing is certain, Sinners is not sleeping in this first few minutes at all.
Absolutely not, Dyer. I mean, 2 generators for that one hook state. It's definitely
No va a poder zonear, porque si os fijáis tiene los motores para allá, no va a poder.
something to be
Gustavo ha caído en muy buena zona, las cosas como son.
proud of, and you're definitely setting yourself up for a great position going forward. I mean, 2 generators for one hook state. You're definitely going to want to feel proud for that because it's less generators total that you have to repair now.
Muy mal pim pam pum. Yo habría ido al del fondo a ver si estaba más avanzado.
That being said, pop being applied to a generator
Vale, si su intención es volver, entonces no tiene mucho sentido lo que yo digo.
with about 15% progress. Sometimes you just need to have pop activated and used on something. But that being said, eruption does get applied to the generator, so maybe we'll see some use out of that later.
And we hear the survivor behind us. The question is,
Vale, vemos motores Vini avanzando motor, están nuestros literalmente. O sea, le van a dejar a Gustavo llegar al segundo stage para meterle creo que 2 motores, ¿vale? Vini, vamos, Vini el motor solo lo hace seguro. SMS, tengo mis dudas. Y Willis obviamente no lo va a hacer, pero van a colar 2 motores porque Gustavo llega al segundo cuelgue y luego sí que le rescatarán. Pero ahí ya tendrán la partida ganada. Si rescatan a Gustavo a falta de morir con 2 motores hechos más, han ganado la partida.
do we hear someone else?
Aquí en este caso Ángel tiene que hacer cosas para que cambie la partida para él.
Potential rescuer, someone who's sneaking in as Gustavo is moving closer and closer towards that second hook stage, or Sinners just sacrificing the team member. When we are taking a look at the distribution on the generators, it does look like Gustavo has to hang there for a little bit longer. Angels will just happily take that second
Vale, se ha tepeado donde Willis.
hook stage. But you now already get into a difficult decision making here, because if Sinners is keeping up this great generator pressure, you might not have the needed time to fully tunnel out Gustavo and benefit from the 3v1 scenario. So
Ahí ya les saldrá muy predecible.
Angels needs to be very careful with the next few steps here, getting the injury onto Vinny. Potentially that is the second survivor that will be on the hook.
Yo no habría vuelto aquí, fijaros lo que os digo. Yo no habría vuelto, yo hubiese intentado tirar a Vini y provocar erupción en los motores. Y una vez tiro a Vini, que estaba en una doble ventana, estaba en muy buena estructura, ahí sí que entonces vuelvo. Si en ese caso tunelear, porque ya dejo uno tirado, están los motores obligados con erupción y se puede intentar hacer cosas, pero creo que volver ahora con Vini herido, Vini le va a acabar el motor aunque sea herido, porque ya no tiene TP, ¿sabéis? Yo creo que esto es una buena decisión.
Very soon, taking care of the generator, teleporting back towards the hook, expecting that someone is close by. We see a few scratch marks here, but it seems like Sinners is taking a pretty chill approach when we are talking about this unhook here.
Very nice UVX shot onto Jason there, threading the
Ahí le ha hecho Vini el motor.
needle through the shack door right there. That was really nice. I love to see those threading needle shots right there. It really shows the skill of some of these players. That being said, going to teleport back over to this side of the map, see if he can catch anyone off guard coming for this unhook onto Gustavo here. Not finding anyone, but look at the amount of generators with Eruption applied, Dyer. That's quite a bit. The next down is definitely going to have a huge toll onto the generator progress around the map.
Pues adiós, Gustavo. Ahora sería evitar que fuese por Vini, porque como le ha dado Vini ese motor, va a estar muy jodido Ángel. Si no le hace motor, todavía se puede remontar la partida.
That being said, Gustavo does take...
O sea, 3 supervivientes, 2 motores, bien. 3 supervivientes, un motor, está jodido lo desconocido.
the death on hook. But there's some generator progress to show for it, with Benny having a generator about to be completed right here. And a very nice UVX
No hemos visto la 6, pero ha sido un hit.
shot onto Jason there, right through the window. That was incredible, Dyer.
No, un poco lento ahí.
Now it's
Tenía que sacar la polla más tarde, porque es cuando saca la polla se ralentiza lo desconocido. Tienes que darlo un poquito más tarde. Justo para hacer el disparo.
going to spice up a little bit here. Jason needs to be really careful. I wasn't about to say it. Hopefully you make it around the corner, buddy. But he just did. He got rid of the UVX. We can all breathe through, ladies and gentlemen. It is not the time yet to roll your Sinners flags together. Keep them out on the balcony. Because our Survivor team is about to make a good comeback here. We see the reset onto Vinny. Next Survivor over here getting the UVX shot, but we cannot follow up on it. And there we see the power now of a good organized Survivor team, even still in a 3v1 scenario. The unknown cannot freely pick anymore.
Muy bien aquí, Vini. Para mí aguanta Ángel, no lo tiene pillado de todo el desconocido. Porque si os fijáis, tarda mucho en tirar el poder. Un desconocido que lo tiene seguro, más o menos saca la polla, como yo digo, y lanza el poder más o menos rápido, más o menos, ¿vale? No de una, pero más o menos rápido. Pero Ángel tarda mucho en lanzarlo.
What Survivor to chase, because he is so worried about the generator pressure, and that's a true advantage that the Survivors are taking here.
Absolutely. And Vinny finding himself in case here.
Tiene que dar un M1, que es en realidad es mala jugada, ¿vale? Pero tiene un M1 porque le van a reventar, ¿sabéis? Pero realmente bien jugado es lanzar moco, ¿sabéis? 3 mocos o 2 mocos y luego un M1.
With Angels going to take an M1 because he missed that UVX shot earlier. That was a very nice dodge, by the way. Let's see. Now right back on to
Muy bien aquí, muy bien se ha movido Jason hacia dentro hacia fuera del shack, perdón.
Jason in the shack, going to miss that UVX, but going to
Está con agotamiento todavía. Está
take the hindered from the direct hit
para recuperarse antes, pero
mid-flight.
Que iba muy bueno ese disparo, pero aquí Jason muy bien de reflejos, yendo justo para atrás.
Very close UVX shot right there. That was very close. And let's see. SMSFR getting rid of the weakened effect, staring at the unknown through shack. And the reset's coming on to Vinny over here from Jason. I think they're going to be interrupted here. Angels does find the reset, pushes them off. This might be a down here.
Yeah.
LOL, no me hagas esta cagada, Ángel. Dios, esto es cagada gigante.
Oh, is it?
Qué cagada. En una Z no te pueden hacer esto. No te lo pueden hacer.
I love to see when this works.
Es cagada gigante, tío.
It is the Spitzball with the power again, and it actually worked out to double wall that window.
Muy bien, es que van muy bien esta gente. O sea, no es que hagan malos disparos, Ángel, sino que es que van muy bien.
Really, really love to see it. That is so punishing now for our killer. We needed that. And the Sinners Survivor team just denying it. Now they can laugh while they are taking the reset here. Really, really well done such a play from Team Sinners here, and now they deserve that final generator, that's for sure here. But Angels has sniffed out the next survivor who was hiding here, trying to get a good position onto the next generator and waiting while the other two survivors are taking care of one another. Now Angels will be able to keep one injury in the trial, and that also opens the
A media distancia, la distancia lenta, bueno, no le vas a acertar. Es súper jodido.
discussion again for the survivor team. Should we meet up another time in order to heal that third injury that we have? Yeah, back towards the two generators over here. Gen setup, definitely not the best one yet. Still towards 50%.
Tiene los motores muy bien colocados, pero aún así lo tiene muy complicado.
Of the Wrecker's Yard here, I would say. So definitely something Angels can work with, even though it's not going to be the easiest task. Our injured survivor is being found right here. Unfortunately, Angels is not able to apply the UVX shot yet, so we might waste a good amount of time here.
Muy bien SMS, con mucha templanza aguanta.
In the corner.
That's right, Tyre. It's a good thing that they got that reset off, because like you said, Unknown can be pretty lethal once there's multiple injuries on the board. Because right when they got that reset off, SMSFR did take an injure, and I'm going to teleport across the map here and see if he can sniff out another survivor, maybe get some more injuries on the board here, make him give himself some more presence around the map, some more pressure. Going for a snipe here, will it land? It might have been close, no way to know for right now, but I like the attempt. Going to keep sniffing around. He does find scratch marks. Whose is this leading to is the question. That looks like it's going to be Wee Jason, potentially.
Buena.
I lied, that's Vinny. I apologize for that. It's Vinny. Gonna follow up on this chase here. Hallucination dropped here. Are we gonna see any use out of that? Because I believe his teleport.
Ahí tenía que haber pegado un rebote hacia la derecha para que la proyectil fuese hacia la izquierda. Y ahí quizá le daba, ¿eh? No estoy 100% seguro, pero 80% seguro sí que sabéis a qué mirar.
I lied, that's Vinny. I apologize for that. It's Vinny. Gonna follow up on this chase here. Hallucination.
Aquí. O sea, y sube a la izquierda, pam, y que rebote aquí. ¿Sabes? En plan, pam, pam. Yo creo que ahí le da, no estoy 100%, pero 80% sí.
Dropped here. Are we gonna see any use out of that? Because I believe his teleport is ready.
Yo me iría ya de esta chase, no la tiene ni herido, yo me iría ya.
SMSF, or Vinny, I apologize. Vinny leaving the tile, knowing that hallucination.
Bueno, ahí veis, justo ese rebote que acaba de hacer, pues antes.
Is going to pose a huge threat. Does get the UVX onto Vinny, and going to opt to leave. Definitely one of the strategies for this killer is to get multiple people afflicted with the weekend status effect and leave. That way they can't get rid of it, making himself a deadly presence all around the map. Very nice.
Se la juega mucho, aquí.
Nice stealthing here from Wee Jason.
And I actually like how Sinners is playing out this cool and collected approach, right? Multiple resets.
Aquí se le ha liado muy bien, Ángel. Se te ha pegado hacia atrás para predecir este movimiento. Muy bien aquí, Ángel.
Sinners never seem
muy mal, con el poder.
It's like they are stressed for them.
En estos momentos no puedes fallar. Hay golpes que se pueden fallar perfectamente, pero golpes así no puedes fallar. No te puedes permitir estos errores porque son cosas que los suplentes te están entregando de poquito a poco y no puedes tú no cogerlo al vuelo.
Playing competitive DBD is like a nice summer holiday vacation trip where they are renting a car, driving to the beach. Like, they're never under stress. They just have their game plan, they play it out, and they know exactly what they need to do, right? Vinny here running away from the generators, dying in the correct spot, and we talked about it earlier. Sometimes it is not about the
no puedes lugar, ¿vale? No puedes.
Longest chase. Certainly there are some pellets available on the other side of the map, but what does it help you to chase 2 minutes over there right next to the generator that is currently being worked on? Instead, holding W, dying in the right spot, and making sure that your team can freely attack the generators has so much more value.
El equipo de Singularity están jugando muy pacientes.
So perfect execution here by Vinny and Team Sinners, definitely making up for a good trial. that is ahead of them here. And Angels on the other side deserves a lot of compliments as well, because he's holding it together. He managed to get the elimination early on, which is quite tricky as an unknown. It's definitely not as guaranteed as when you play the Ghoul or the Nurse.
Qué buena, muy buena. Ha metido, ha herido el SMS.
So I feel like,
Muy buena.
beautiful double shot. This is something I was
Ya Vini le ha metido el moco.
just mentioning. The next one who makes a misstep is potentially the loser of this trial, and having a double
Que bien se mueve SMS.
shot like this, if Angels benefits from this, might be exactly that situation.
¿Cómo que no ha llegado?
Absolutely,
Hostia, ¿cómo no ha llegado, tío? Se lo tenía al lado. Madre mía.
Dire. That was an incredible snipe there, coming in from Angels onto both Vinny and SMSFR. That was incredible.
Por cierto, Jason SMS y tal son argentinos. ¿Cómo tienen tan buen ping? No sé. A lo mejor tienen algún programa en plan de estos de que te quitan el lag y eso. Yo se llamaba No Ping o algo así se llamaba el programa. Sí que la DBD permite dos programas. Dos permite. No me acuerdo cuáles, pero permite dos programas para quitarte el ping. Pero joder, tienen demasiado bueno, ¿no?
Going to find the chase here at this small rock loop here. Maybe not going to stick around there. Going in for this LNT wall instead. Might have just fallen for the mind game though, because there comes the down onto SMSFR at the window. Not fully making it through before the unknown's wine bottle, I believe, lands right in his back. I know that was the anniversary skin. I'm not too sure exactly what bottle
Aquí está la Jason.
that is. I'm going to say that it's wine. I'm going to leave this survivor's flux right now. SMSFR going to be
No llegas tan lejos.
laying in the dirt for a little bit while Angels finds the pickup, actually, going right back. SMSFR was just picked up off the ground.
Uf, iba muy bien ese disparo.
Almost landing that hit with the UVX. Very close, but no cigar.
And we're trying, standing, healing, running, only to get the few seconds in here for that final generator. On it again,
Va a ser gancho para gente para este motor.
Jason, Winnie, where are you? Winnie, it's needed on that generator. We need a little bit of extra progress. Potentially, they are already planning with him taking over on the exit gate, but that
Muy inteligente que Jason no se vuelve a poner, no vuelve a ponerse a hacerlo porque se lo va a meter el papum y lo va a bajar todavía más.
would be
Así que es preferible dejarlo bajar por su cuenta que darle caña y luego un papum.
a little bit too optimistic, because I was just about to say we should have another pain res available there. So
No se pone a hacerlo.
not quite the turn
Se lo habrán dicho, le han dado la call de que reparte.
for the end game just yet. A little bit of more work is needed. Vinny is starting to circle around, potentially responsible for the unhook. Angels firing onto the generator where he expects the survivor, but they left early enough in order to avoid that. Now it's also the question, can Angels read the hiding spot of the survivor over here?
Mira, estaba Jason detrás del sitio este y ha aprovechado la patada para escapar. Muy bien aquí Jason.
It seems like we don't need a read, we just get the reveal ourselves, but that was actually a beautiful timing, Rob. Just when Angels
Esta gente lo hace muy bien.
is checking on the generator,
supervivientes.
they're getting themselves out of danger. Beautiful play.
Oh, 100% Dire. I agree with that.
Mal aquí.
Definitely gonna want to get out of there before the unknown finds you. He's pretty scary if you ask me. But that being said,
¿Cómo te pueden liar tanto en una Z, tío? Una Z no te la pueden liar de esa manera, tío. Es una estructura malísima.
want to find the chase
Bien ahí por parte de
on
Ángel.
the Wee Jason, the last pain resonance stack remaining on the board. If this pain resonance does come through, it
Lo están reparando el del saco los dos juntos, yo os digo, aunque sea heridos.
is going to be a bit of a setback for the survivors on the generators.
Pues no se estaban curando.
But Dire, I have to say, I see
Me imagino que el motor del saque estará muy poco avanzado, por eso no se habrá puesto a hacer.
exactly what you were talking about with the absolute threat that Team Sinners is on Survivor. They are last.
Pues este va a ser un muy buen cuelgue, porque aparte creo que estos ganchos flagelante es un muy buen sitio, porque tienes un motor muy avanzado al lado y tienes el sac justo de delante, o sea, cuelgue va a ser muy
in
importante.
chase for quite
Veremos cómo lo
a
gestiona.
while, getting generators done, staying healthy, making sure that they don't let the unknown keep them weakened for too long. they are an absolute threat against Angels is unknown. So I completely
¿Veis? Engancho para adelante en el momento del
see
medio.
what you're talking about. But this match can go either way because there's just one generator left and 3v1 with with the last paint residence coming in right there, it looks like.
Esto es error del killer, no debería permitir que le descolguen tan fácil.
Gonna get this unhooked for free as well. But Angels is going to find the generator being worked. Apply pop goes the Weasel and keep the generator progress rather low. This could end up in a 4v1. But knowing how Team Sinners has been playing, they might get this last generator done and potentially even get some
Muy buena aquí,
stages
Ángel.
out of the door, Dyer.
Yeah, the very punishing fact is where they just had the next.
Dios mío, ahora los dos. Hostia, espectacular esta bomba, espectacular aquí encima de la camioneta. ¡Mua! 10 de 10.
Hook stage, right? And it's good that they already recovered from that. Hello, Winnie. That's going to be the little
Ese paleta es un poco falso, como son, pero
bit of a stun here. The protection, unfortunately, didn't work out
llega a dar ahí y hubiese sido la hostia.
so well. Very important that Sinners is moving away again out of the 3-gen area because allowing
La cosa es que ahora solo tiene pim pam pum, nada más.
the hook there for Angels, even though it was just roughly half a minute,
Y me la mete entre los dos motores, o sea, perfecta ubicación.
already allowed for quite some regression, and unfortunately they are allowing it a little bit again. We are moving towards this generator that is under pressure more and more.
Cuidado, pues nadie puede reparar ahora mismo. Nadie está reparando, mejor dicho.
They played a little bit cleaner 2 minutes ago when they made it to the other side of the Wreckers Yard. Now they make it towards like the Czech equator, you could say, on Wreckers Yard, not to the other side anymore.
Hostia, muy bien aquí SMS. Ha dicho, Vini, me lo llevo yo, tú haces el motor y ahora vemos cómo rescatamos a Jason.
We need
Aunque creo que no van a poder, creo que se van a escapar Vini, SMS y esto.
to return back to that, or we just slam it
Se la juega, no jodas, que se la juega.
out of the way. Sinner
Esto es súper arriesgado, un TP y te vas a solo. Y se hace el killer 3K. Esto es muy arriesgado.
with the coordinated play, with the patience, with the game plan, clean execution, we have the end game play now, and we also have 2 stages on the second survivor, so on Jason, Winnie,
Buah, por un pelo de coño, literalmente.
and our survivor in Chase. They are worth 2 more stages, so this is actually the perfect chase for an end game here to secure most stages possible.
That's 100% right, Dyer. Team Sinners coming through and getting that last
Aquí creo que en esta zona del mapa no hay copias, me parece.
generator completed was absolutely necessary. With that being said,
Se ven aquí para vigilar por debajo, para ver por dónde viene el killer.
SMSFR keeping Angels busy long enough to make some progress on this exit gate, but Angels does find Vinny here on the exit gate. It's a little bit of a setback, but it looks like SMSFR is getting picked up off the ground by Wee Jason off in the distance. Maybe they can pressure the other exit gate, but we'll have
Muy bien aquí, jugado por Ángel.
to see as Vinny goes on the floor right there from a very nice
Como sea 4K, exagerado.
UPX shot by Angels, going right back to the other side of the map with the hallucination teleport, and maybe finding Wee Jason here and SMSFR, one of the two. But it looks like Angels is picking his target pretty specifically so that he can maximize the amount of points he can get out of this endgame.
I just hope for Angels. Okay, yeah, he's picking up. I was just about to say, I hope he's calculating the chances correctly and not ending up a little bit too greedy, especially not in the first trial. You want to be too greedy and.
Pues bastante bien, 3 cuelgues, 3 de Vini 6, 2, 8, 9 cuelgues. Bastante buena partida, la verdad. 9 cuelguecitos.
See the
bien
on
frescos.
4 in there.
Aquí vemos las perks y os digo, muy bien. Ostras, la prestigio 100. Pues para mí ha tenido fallos, ha tenido buenos mocos, las cosas como son, buenas decisiones, pero ha tenido fallos muy decisivos. Si hubiese hecho esos fallos, para mí perfectamente se puede llevar a todos, pero bueno, es lo que hay. Vale, siguiente partidita, 4:52:54, segundo, aquí, más o menos aquí, ¿vale?
Artist and Angel.
Vale, va con acogida nefasta en vez de gancho flagelante, 2 retumbante. Bueno, las dos, para mí gancho flagelante es un poquito mejor, pero acogida nefasta, si mete los 4 cuelgues bien rápido, es una pet excelente.
who
El problema es meterla cuando rote con motor. Ahí es una pet bastante amarilla.
just played the unknown himself.
Y bueno, Jason, obviamente. Yo os digo, de aquí solo conozco a Angers y ya está. Eso es lo único que conozco. One Sinin y Lasty parecen nombres de dibujos animados, tío. No les conozco.
Jason on the killer. Jason is just as famous, I would say, as a Nightlight, as a Zaka, around in the community for a very, very long time. And we have an absolute big thing to announce. This is the first Yun Jin since we started to track some things.
Esto es hit, ¿vale? De hecho, se ha comido el cuelga.
That's, I mean.
el gancho, perdón. Muy bien, si fijáis, le da otra vez con el moco para que así siga estando con el virus, básicamente.
That's completely correct, Dyer. I didn't even notice that until you mentioned it. We haven't seen a Yun Jin in DBD League.
Menudo inicio, 2 heridos, uno con moco ya. Aunque One si no te ayuda, creo que se va a poder quitar el moco.
That being said, we
Si no, One si habría durado una persecución de, no sé, 20 segundos.
are coming into our match now. The second injury coming through. First UVX
Ha lanzado el moco porque sabía que ya se le estaba escapando y tenía que intentarlo, ¿vale? Básicamente.
being applied onto Wansi and going to follow up into
One si aquí...
that chase. Didn't see a second application of UVX,
Muy buen rebote.
but is going to get it over that pallet. Nice little bounce shot right there off the wall above the pallet. That was pretty nice to see. Sadly, it didn't result in a damage to the survivor, but it was still nice to see nonetheless.
Quick teleportation here.
A ver si quitan lo del 2-2-1.
Trying to get ahead of the survivors. Doesn't work though. No one is there to be bamboozled, and therefore we're also not going to have a quick down here. Angels doing a good job. Now, unfortunately, taking the UVX.
Aquí está muerto, ¿vale? Estos petados los va a esquivar y estará muerto. Bueno, a lo mejor intenta meterse por aquí por la ventana y tal.
Shot drops the pallet early. Firecracker.
No, nada.
Dropped as well. Just celebration effect. No blindness on the
Brutal aquí, Ángel. Brutal.
killer. Moving around here. Nice dodge. This is going to make the chase much longer.
Por eso digo que jugar este killer, sobre todo con la gente muy buena, hay que jugar perfecto, literalmente.
Because now you
Ya es muy difícil jugar perfecto.
don't have to worry about the UVX shot. The killer would need to apply that onto you, but is it enough?
O sea, bastante falso, es decir, bastante falso.
Reach the pallet! That actually hits someone. Email behavior. Angels on the floor here. Unfortunate. I feel like he didn't deserve that after the good dodges. 154. That's pretty much in line with the previous trial, I feel like. But yeah, I feel CYNIC with one generator out of the way. In the previous trial, Rob, we had 2 already completed, so they better speed it up here.
Bastante mal pim pam pum.
That's absolutely right, Dyer. Yes, that's absolutely in line with the previous trial, but with the generators being completed, you did make a really good point. There were 2 generators completed around this time, and if you look at the survivor UI right there, there's not a whole lot of other generator progress to speak of. Also, a correction to something I mentioned earlier. This is actually the first usage of Yun Jin Lee in DBD League, period. So that's really cool to see.
Hay error por parte de Jason.
Being said, Jason not finding a
Está guapa la skin esta, parece un poco gladiador.
weaken effect onto Lusty here after that UVX shot, but the unhook is going to come in, and Jason is going to pressure it. Going to wait out that base kit
Muy bien, aquí esquiva el moco.
time there for a second, trying to get the UVX applied, but not finding its home. Going to continue this chase here at this truck pallet. And might see the down coming in here, unless a body block comes through. Very nice.
Muy buen body block.
Nicely timed there. Coming in from Wansi. Very close. I almost thought that hit was going to come through until the body block just
Ahora está bastante jodido, porque el body block ahora tiene que ser todavía mejor para que se salve a Angel.
said, no, you can't come this way. But that being said, another one coming in is exactly
¿Por qué poco?
what Angels needs right now. That's almost like a bit of a comeback from that
Muy bien, Ángel, se está moviendo muy bien. Y créanme que es bastante jodido.
pallet hit earlier that I imagine that Angels would have
Buah, brutal.
been absolutely livid about.
Yeah, Jason here with the shots, just a few
Aquí mal salto porque te quedas tú completamente encerrado y ahora simplemente va a pillar full W.
millimeters off, right? It's almost touching the survivor, but then it's unfortunately just a little
No mete full W, interesante.
bit left or right, not getting the pressure and the downs that we would at this point almost desperately need if the survivors are doing their homework on the generators, because right now
Se está moviendo muy bien Ángel, y está siendo tuneleado, ¿vale? O sea, que no ha podido ni ser curado.
okay, that seems like the homework is not being forgotten. Two generators together, because I was about to mention, if they don't get the pressure into the objectives, they can loop as long as they want to. It won't help
Se la ha jugado mucho el salir del autobús, pero bueno, el autobús es muy difícil de jugarlo, ¿eh? Yo entiendo que se deshace,
than anything,
pero se la ha jugado muchísimo.
but good to see that CYNIC is on top with that. Angels going down here again. We see Fancy finding the reset, so he's going to be fine for the next chase again. Progress on to Angels. That's going to be the second hook stage right here for the captain of Team CYNIC. But we are not facing the elimination yet. We have a good minute for free base.
Creo que se ha equivocado en coger la pre que cogía nefasta, ¿eh? Creo que por cómo va la partida no creo que la dé gusto.
Basically, if no one would rescue, and I feel like Jason needs to step up a little bit. It will not be enough to continue like he's doing right now. In this case, CYNIC will just make it to the end game.
Absolutely dire. And that generator being at about 60 to 70% progress is definitely going to be a threat. But Pop Goes the Weasel coming through onto this generator, setting it back just enough for him to come back and camp Angels in the basement, which is a very difficult situation to unhook from, if you ask me. That being said, this is a really good situation for Jason to be in right now. He can definitely...
Sí, dice básicamente que es una muy buena situación aquí para Jason, porque es muy difícil descolgar contra uno desconocido en el sótano, porque te mete el virus a los dos y os puede ir luego a los dos, no se puede proteger al compañero tuneleado, pero aún así le están avanzando muy bien la partida a los oponentes que están libres, por así decirlo. Entonces no sé si se le está rentando campear, la verdad.
camp Angels out and be in a pretty good position. That being said, not finding anyone coming in for the unhook just yet, they're likely going to need
No, van a sonar de Ángel, van a hacer un motor fuerte.
multiple people to come in and get that unhook,
De hecho están en tres motores diferentes,
but it looks like they're going to be happy to just make gen progress.
En el caso de que aquí Jason se vaya a por un motor, están todavía haciendo dos, que son los que faltan.
And leave Angels in the basement to die on hook, because they can meet that win condition regardless of Angels dying on hook or not.
Now Lusty taking the next chase here again with the responsibility to make it a good run, especially with the elimination that is now coming through onto Angels. But the question is, can our killer even freely walk after that survivor that he just spotted? Because there are generators to take care of, and it seems
Nah, creo que ha perdido la partida, la ha perdido.
like Jason is aware of that as well. The regression has priority, but
Y le ha ganado Ángel, que os veis que el que está muerto es el que ha ganado la partida.
next generator cannot be stopped.
Ha aguantado muy bien en el túnel.
Fourth already, one generator left before the end game, and we only have 3 stages so far. That is not halftime yet,
Y muy bien reparado por sus compañeros, los próximos han reparado muy bien y han tomado buenas decisiones mientras él estaba colgado.
but this generator is already having 4 pistons pumping there, so it's just a few seconds.
Y creo que fue Wansi también le protegió muy bien a Ángel. Cuando tuvo que protegerle, le protegió muy bien al principio de la partida y a posteriori.
Of pressure. Jason needs this down very quickly, but Vancy is holding very clearly W, leading him away, meaning that the other survivors are just going to jump over here. Rob, in case they are now getting the final generator done, which they do, we need a slug in the end game. We need a speed run.
I completely agree with you, Dyer. That last generator popping is a lot of pressure on Jason's shoulders right now. He needs a slug, he needs a down, he needs hooks to come in, and another kill to even come close to matching the win condition, or getting to the win condition here. That being said, this is a lot of pressure, and the Virus might just be happy enough to let the next slug be hooked, and they can make it out and still take this win.
Pues nada, Wansi, disfruta de la chase que te vas a lanzar.
Nice hallucination teleport right there coming in. And Wancy goes on.
Approach the generators.
6 cuelgues, lo normal, como desconocido, lo normal, 6 cuelgues, o sea, pero luego, claro, Ángel 9 cuelgues está que te cagas de bien. Y nada, coge nefasta mala per, pero sobre todo, ya os digo, le ha costado mucho el túnel, muchísimo, y cuando te cuesta tunelear a este nivel, te pasan por encima, literalmente te pasan por encima. Y eso que empezó muy bien el early, mucho mejor que Ángel, muchísimo mejor, pero no ha podido sacarle fruto. Así que nada, primera partida para CYNIC, vamos a la segunda, creo que era deterioro si no recuerdo mal, era 5-5-13 y más o menos. Qué alto, tío. Perdón por dejaros sordos.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoy.
Vale, vemos que va con doble ladón de velocidad, que es lo que se lleva usualmente con deterioro, o a lo mejor el ladón de velocidad y aquí el ladón de cargar más rápido las 5 cargas. Y no se permite gancho fragante de dolor retumbante con deterioro competitivo. Agitación para poder literalmente colgar donde te salgan los cojones y llevarlo a tu ventaja. Las dos P más fuertes de motores que están en competitivo.
The Suffocation Pit map introduction. We are now on to the set with the Blight on Suffocation Pit. That being said, currently we're sitting at...
Y bueno, deterioro en este mapa se va a llevar 4K, es lo más normal que se ve 4K. La cuestión es simplemente saber cuántos motores le colgan. Y eso que este mapa es muy bueno para superviviente, pero cuando el deterioro se queda en una zona es muy difícil sacar los motores. A tomar por culo este tal.
With Jason on the Blight being almost completely opposite in terms of...
Buah. Un poco de suerte ha tenido, pero sabía que estaba ahí por el pájaro.
Immediate pressure from the unknown. The Blight being able to apply pressure on the map immediately off the start of the match. Finding the first injure there onto Wancy. Will this be a quick down following up with a lethal rush or maybe an M1?
Wow, muy bien aquí Wancy, va a tener mucha templanza para eso.
Oh my god, that was so close. Almost finding a blind after that too, but Jason was able to look away.
Muy bien, Ángel protegiendo.
A body block coming through from Angels. Very nice early game play from both the survivors and Killer. But let's see if we're gonna follow up here.
Es una bestia este Killer, es una bestia.
Well, very nice lethal rush onto Wancy. Down coming in.
Down coming in here very quickly into the trial.
Lo lleva al centro del mapa, un buen sitio para un color temprano.
Indeed, criminally 1 minute, perfectly 1 minute into the trial. Very well done for Jason, who definitely has to step up in this trial here. The first set going to CYNIC is definitely putting the pressure back onto Sinners here, just lurking around and finding a survivor there.
¿Qué le pasa ya la visión del espectador?
Was on the way to the top side and the potential rescue, and that's an injury into the back. Perks is going to feel very bad about taking this one. Reminds us a little bit of Mada earlier on Team Oracle, who also took an unfortunate injury like this just for free, and the team suffered from that significantly. So Angels
Debería meter el papú antes de que se le acabe.
Lusty now with the responsibility to go for the rescue here. You cannot really go for a rescue with the injured survivor because the Blight is just too quick in coming back. Jason very gently swinging early and not be
Error está reparando un motor 2 puntos. En el principio, sabéis que hay que reparar por separado porque se sacan más puntos. Pero bueno.
DMing the survivor on hook. That is very beautiful to see. But yeah, Angels, Perks currently grind.
Por cómo estaba haciendo la partida de lento, 5 motores, van llegando al segundo stage, 2 supervivientes reparando el mismo motor, 1 herido. Esta pinta tiene mala pinta para, o sea, la partida tiene mala pinta para CYNIC.
The generators, so it's all on Lusty with the deliverance. We have seen earlier how a Blight successfully denied the deliverance. So let's see if Jason is able to do the same.
Yeah, very.
Ya sabéis que claro, le ha metido el descuelgue para la liberación. Si le tumba justo después de tiempo prestado, a los 12-13 segundos, o sea, el tiempo prestado dura 10, 12-13, no va a tener liberación en su superviviente. Y eso sería un fail que te cagas para el equipo.
Nice of him to make sure not to BM the survivor on hook by swinging early.
¿Qué hace? Porque se queda curándose, no entiendo nada.
But will the Deliverance come through? I'm not too sure with Wancy self-healing right after dropping the pallet.
¿Veis? No tiene liberación. ¿Veis que no lo tiene? Porque no ha sido un desnudo seguro. Ostras, no se hubiera puesto a curarse, no tiene mucho sentido.
Yeah, it looks like Deliverance did not come through, did not get activated. That's no use of Deliverance this match. A little bit unfortunate for the survivors of CYNIC here, not having such a strong perk used this match at all. And
Los está amasando, literalmente.
that second hook going on to Wancy here. Every survivor being injured, that's not looking too good for the survivors of Team CYNIC here. What are your thoughts, Dyer?
So let's
Guau, llega a mirar para aquí y le pega la hostia.
see if that's now going to be
No hemos visto la hostia, un Lucky.
the catch in the main building. By the way, before everyone is getting
Pero le ha pegado la hostia usando agilidad.
worried here about the BM on hook, that was
Creo que lo van haciendo motores, chicos. Creo que lo van haciendo motores, literalmente.
obviously a joke. If he would have swung into the survivor, that would have been totally fine. So let's see if we are going to have Jason being found. That's going to be the successful find. On to Lusty here. We are back to everyone injured, and that also means that we are now going to have the full pressure on the survivor team, the potential for the snowball, back and forth,
Muy bien aquí, Wancy, metiéndose por sitios donde no puede, el dinero puede girar.
and one more.
Ahora el Elastic sí que va a tener liberación.
Not going to be successful. Jason has to go into the fatigue and the pickup immediately in the distance. CYNIC doing such a good job here. 2 generators already completed. Wancy going down onto the floor. Will Jason go for the slug is the question, but it seems like he's just going to take the hook stage that he has guaranteed for himself. Reset in the distance, while Angels though is staying a little bit risky with an injury on the generators, but with the elimination coming through,
Nos está reventando literalmente.
it is understandable why CYNIC wants to pick
Ángel está diciendo, esta partida está más perdida que perdida. Vamos a hacerle todos los motores que podamos.
up the speed on the generator. I feel like in the 3v1 scenario, Sappho and Blight are a lot more dangerous as a combination.
Fully agree with you there, Dyer. 3v1 at 3 gens.
Qué difícil de killers entre lo desconocido y deterioro, que lo desconocido coño es un killer fuerte, pero es que deterioro, no sé, parece un tanque a la suya.
Not looking very good. The down coming in on the perks there, and going to see if you can find the other survivors potentially resetting off in the distance.
Buah,
Let's see
ha visto sangre, así que está por
if
aquí.
you can find it. If any killer can, it would definitely be a high mobility killer like the Blight,
Ahí está.
which Jason is playing pretty
Ángel, perdón, Lasty.
well right now, I'd say. He's got a lot of pressure on the map. Finds Lusty down right in on the
Este Ángel estaba por aquí, uno de estos dos. Creo que era el último.
edge of map here. One survivor up, that being Angels. Can we, Jason, find him and shut this down at 3 generators remaining? That is a great question to ask right now.
¿Veis? Me lo
Can
imagino.
we see that happen? Another generator coming
Puede estar 3 motores. Ahí se queda perdido.
through, almost landing that flick. That's 2 generators left, but there is 1 survivor standing, Dyer.
Hay que adelantarle, cierto. Lasty tiene que adelantarle, se me había olvidado. Pues bueno, hay más partiditos
This is
todavía.
not looking very good. Unbreakable comes on to
Thank
Lusty
God.
here in the background. This
Y se vuelve muy buena decisión, porque aquí ya no hay nada que defender. Aquí en la otra zona, a defender al menos el cuerpo de
was
Peps.
not looking very good, Dyer. This is a very scary situation for the survivors of CYNIC to be in. All survivors off the ground now. A lot of pressure taken off, but the pressure has already been applied, Dyer.
Yeah, thank God
Le ha curado tiempo.
the Unbreakable was
Muy buena esa. Esa. Hay que tener cojones para hacerla.
available there because, woo, take that, buddy. Because the problem is, if the Unbreakable didn't come through, this turned from looking okay.
Ay, aquí quiere hacerlo muy rápido y se ha equivocado.
Yeah, very, very doable, even with the elimination, into this is going to be over. So one more chance for the survivors here. Perks on the floor, Lusty trying to make some distance, wasting some time. Jason looking over,
Le han curado.
trying to find the survivor that might go for the potential pickup
Se ha dado cuenta tarde.
here. Jason is definitely in control. If he plays this correctly, he should be able to keep it on 2 generators remaining. But we have seen CYNIC in the previous trial. We've seen how efficient they are, how good they can communicate. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see the comeback and if we see a few more gens, because they are also pretty spread out and hard to defend.
You know, Dyer, I've got to hit you
Qué buena triangulación,
a bit. Perks really didn't see the perks of stunning the killer there. He took it down right after, and unfortunately, we're back to 2 survivors on the ground. There's no more Unbreakable in play. Only Lusty is up, and we've just been playing pretty well, finding the resets, finding the survivors, hiding in the distance, trying to make sure that they can stealth out the killer nearby, potentially being able to pop another generator or finish a reset or whatever, what have you. The only question is right now, can we, Jason, find that? Right now, not so much. Going to apply corruption to a couple of generators around the map. That way, he can avoid that situation where Angels popped the generator right in front of his face earlier. No one coming in for the pickup onto Perks here. Angels not even recovering on the ground, it looks like. I could be wrong, but that's what the UI... No, the UI is definitely... okay. But the Blight is going to keep moving around the map. We, Jason, definitely looking...
Entiendo que Angel se está moviendo Hypers también para, pues, si pilla a Lusty, intentar no darle los colgos, ¿sabes?
For someone to find here. Other than the 2 survivors slugged on the ground right here, can he find Lusty? That is the big question. There are 2 generators left. This would be absolutely phenomenal for Sinners to take advantage of.
Por cierto, antes he dicho que Jason era brasileño. Me firmo un porro, es argentino. Bueno, Jason es argentino, ¿no? Hostia.
Yeah, interesting to
Hostia, tío, me acaba de explotar la cabeza. Perdón, chicos, es que... perdón por ser tan retraso mental, pero es que no quiero meter la pata en esto. Se me acaba de ir la cabeza.
Ahora mismo,
Claro, Jason argentino, sí, he dicho brasileño, tío. Sois un normal, tío. Sois un normal, literalmente.
see
Bueno, creo que haber dicho brasileño, me he equivocado completamente, perdón.
what they are preparing here
Es un equipo argentino.
as a
sí.
comeback strategy. Angels clearly crawling into a new position, trying to make it harder for Jason to track him again. Like the more time passes and the further the survivor crawls, the more difficult the prediction for the killer, where's the survivor located. So it does make a lot of sense that CYNIC wants to use the time to reposition themselves, trying to create some good spots for the healing, but they need to speed up a little bit. Perks is about to bleed out in round
F.
about 30 to 40 seconds, and bleed outs are fully counting for the killer here. So that's going to be the injury onto Angels and Lusty now.
Claro, seguidamente ataque para perder el tiempo y no se lo permitió Jason.
Lusty going to not make it towards the locker
No creo que vaya a curar a Perks, Ángel, creo que se va a quedar allí.
here, tried to force the grab there, and Jason wants to check if Angels is
Pues tenía intención, pero no.
rotating around. The answer is yes, and there
Pues
we
ala.
go. No unbreakable
Pues ahora, 3 motores para casa.
anymore.
Pues ahora, sí.
Change their original pick.
Lasty tiene liberación, cierto, Lasty tiene liberación. O sea, ¿cómo lo sabe, ¿Cómo lo sabe? En plan, saber a quién tiene que campear Lasty. ¿Por qué? Porque Lasty ha descolgado el primero de todos. Entonces el killer parece no, pero de eso el killer no es retraso mental. Se da cuenta y dice, vale, tú me quieres rescatar el primero del equipo, pues te voy a campear a ti porque eres el que tiene más posibilidades de tener liberación.
So we have switched from the Death Slinger towards the Artist.
Si Per se muere, Lasty se puede ir por la trampilla. Por la trampilla sale justo aquí en el sac.
Artist, first time in season
No, hombre, no.
X. I mean, that's not so surprising because we're here with the first weekend. But Artist is a killer that we need to go a little bit deeper with. Maybe we see the hatch escape. It would be style points only, ladies and gentlemen, because we don't have all the gens completed. But it would still be nice. Come on. Jason,
I agree
Mercy.
with you.
No puede, no puede.
Bit of mercy.
A bit of
Hostia, no podía, darle la patada. Le había hecho un body block guapo.
Sure, okay, he gets the prompt now, yeah. Yeah, I was like, does he get the prompt? He does get it. And okay, Jason has no mercy, it seems like. It's understandable.
Pues ya está, ahora sí. Ahí tenemos las perks, se permite, ya sabéis, se permite contra deterioro todo. Bueno, casi todo, ¿vale? Por ser uno de los kills más fuertes del juego. Así que una muy buena partida de Jason. Vamos a la siguiente. 5, 21, 33. Me he pasado. Ay, perfecto.
being said, we're going into the second set
Osaka, como la ciudad de Japón.
on the Blight.
Y ahora viene Switcher, que también juega muy bien. Este chico juega muy bien.
Osaka already rushing into the opposite side of the map, into the corrupted intervention area, finding...
Brutal Osaka, hola, vaya gitardo, es brutal. Ese cambio de cámara, madre mía, un 10.
Oh my god! What a flick! That's incredible!
Sí, un flicardo bestial.
Already onto Gustavo, what an insane flick! I'm already loving the pacing this match is giving. I can't wait to see what happened to this chase. That was insane, Dyer.
What am I going to do? It's too
Gustavo aquí... Sabe una polla bien gorda, básicamente.
my sinner's wall tattoo that I have above
O sea, la idea era buena, el ir y volver era buena, pero lo ha hecho muy mal.
my computer. I have to rip it off soon. What is this early game?
Pues empieza muy bien la partida, Para...
Sinners, please!
para
This is
Phoenix.
not how you can load into a
Va, por cierto, con las mismas addons y mismas perks.
match where you need 4 generators, where you put yourself
Hago así dentro de la vista porque tengo el micrófono ahí, básicamente.
up to such a good win condition. Then this cannot happen. We have pallets for a reason, Gustavo. You are allowed to drop them, but honestly, for Osaka, I only have the greatest appreciation and the biggest compliments, and someone who opens a trial
Bueno, el Bam hay que meterlo, va a iniciar chase.
like this definitely deserves to win now.
Nada, eso no va a colar, es un hit muy básico.
Regardless of how difficult the win condition is, when you open it like this, you deserve to win. Take it, Osaka.
100% Dyer. That was insane. That down came in at 31.
Qué buena, o sea, Jason lo ha hecho perfecto, por eso seguridad ahí, porque normal es pegar un enemigo hacia la pared y romperlo. Pero aquí, o sea, que se lo he imaginado que te cagas de bien y he dicho, no, sé que me vas a hacer algo ahí. Voy a rotar a otro sitio y te doy la vuelta. Brutal aquí los dos, pero Osaka de momento muy bien.
Second, definitely the fastest of Season X. The fastest overall, though, that might be a high contender right there. That was a very fast, very early down right there, coming onto the Blight. One of the killers that really doesn't have the fastest of the fastest, that usually being
Aquí flojete Jason.
Nurse and
O sea, es buena jugada de Osaka en main game, pero aquí Jason lo suyo es pues, saber defender.
Dracula. But wow, what an insane start to this match. That flick was legendary, and then finding another M1 down onto Gustavo there, just absolutely ridiculous fast down right there. Definitely not the kind of start that the survivors of Team Sinners want to see in this match right now.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy when you
Muy mal sprint por parte de Billy.
have to talk about a survivor comeback after 2 minutes into the trial, right? So I really hope that Sinners is taking or understanding this as some sort of warning that Osaka should not be underestimated, that you
Aquí viene bastante flojillo, la verdad.
need to be very... Wow, he just continues like this. Can I
Osaka está jugando perfecto, O sea, perfecto, no se puede decir nada.
at least finish my sentence? Wow, he's faster with the downs than we can cast them. But you need to understand this as some sort of a warning that you shouldn't underestimate Osaka and that you shouldn't feel too brave and confident with your luxury win condition here, because it might go very downhill if you're doing
Santa María bendita, tío, ¿qué cojones? ¿Qué Dios se lo saca hola? El Cienfuegos hace esto y, no sé, saca champán, no sé, el jamón 5J.
And Osaka!
Dios santo bendito, este jugador no le conocía, pero madre mía, qué bestia, tío.
Calm down, buddy! What are these flicks?
Osaka, you've got to slow down. Wow, what an incredible performance on the Blight already. and one generator has
Te lleva hacia esta zona del mapa que me interesa más.
popped.
Muy bien.
Multiple downs come in. This is a majestic performance on the Blight. Osaka has no chill going into this match already.
Qué pena, por nada, por un segundo.
Two generators popping. Gustavo taking a hit for that second generator popping. Going into main building. What? Wow, this is absolutely ridiculous so far. Dire. Opting to leave this chase here. Going to go to this cutoff area and find.
Se vuelve en el momento que lo ha visto porque sabía que ahora iban a descolgarle, solo que Sweet Child estaba muy bien colocado y por eso no lo podía hacer.
Sweet Child coming in here for the unhook and preventing that from coming in. Wow, this is definitely not looking good for the survivors of Sinner right now.
Aquí Sweet Child sabe que se va a dar una hostia, pero dice, bueno, me voy hasta el otro lado del mapa para que a Jason le puedan rescatar y curarle.
Is very taxing
Obviamente, Osaka va a volver ahora mismo.
on their ability to potentially pull in a win condition, if even potentially a tie at this point, Dire.
Porque con un motor más empata la partida.
Yeah, Osaka is celebrating his Blight party on the Suffocation
Por poco, diría por un segundo por ahí.
pit. Beautiful DH coming out by Jason. The E skills are just too strong here. Around the pallet we go.
Aquí a de Jason, sabiendo que ese pico te protege, no te muevas de ese sitio, porque ese pico te protege muy bien. El otro lado no hay nada que te protege.
Waiting patiently for the vault and then just finishing
Creo que lo hacen en el motor, creo que lo hacen en este motor.
it off with the next bounce. Very, very well done. Jason going straight back onto the floor here. Third generator coming out, but we are now saying goodbye to our first survivor here. So right now this would be a tie if Osaka manages to 4K. One more gen, ladies and gentlemen, and Sinners takes the set point here.
Uy, por poquísimo.
From what is deserved,
¿Habéis visto dónde se ha colocado Ace? Ahí es para dificultar lo máximo posible el hit de deterioro cuando tú subes una colina.
I would say Osaka absolutely deserves to secure this tie here, but I feel like Sinners has a little bit more in store, and especially since there are still 3 survivors, they might be able to pull generator number 4 here.
100% there, Dire. That being said, I highly agree with you. Osaka definitely deserves to take this win after this ridiculously good performance on the Blight. This is, like I said, Osaka is a demon on the Blight. That being said, the survivors of Sinners have definitely responded well so far, at least getting to the tie condition. If they can pop one more generator, that'd be insanely good for them.
Tío, este tío es muy bueno en el deterioro, es un hijo de la gran puta, como digo yo, o sea, es un cabronazo, o sea, es una bestia.
It might be extremely difficult with a slug coming in onto.
Estoy flipando, de verdad, o sea, no sabía de este jugador y es de lo mejor que he visto con deterioro.
Child a few moments ago, and another tag coming on to Gustavo with a lethal rush hit. That being said, Vinny is the only full health survivor in the trial right now.
De milagro, no llegó de milagro, tú. Ese tap rápido es súper jodido hacerlo.
One tech coming in.
Parece que lo hace fácil, pero es difícil.
Almost landing onto Gustavo. That was insanely close with the ping difference right now. I would not have cast that out of imagination right there. That was very close right there.
Aquí una God Rock y 10-1 no se va a salir.
There, onto the God Rock filler here.
Aquí error. Primer error de Osaka, Primer error de Osaka.
Almost getting hit right there with that lethal rush, but the pallet being vacuumed by the lethal rush hit. Going to take this this hook now. What's going to happen next? It looks like Vinny has a generator about 45% progress, 50 now. The Sinners survivors are definitely putting in some work to match this level of pressure.
Le ha visto, creo que la ha visto.
Let's see if Sinners
No la ha visto.
finds the strength getting an extra generator out of the way here. Osaka back towards the main building, sees the ace, sees the Kate.
Brutal.
Sweet Child going to take the injury here together with Gustavo now behind the main building. Yeah, the survivors lock themselves up here a little bit, leaving only Vinny with the chance at the moment to work on these generators, and
Este tío es Dios.
Osaka knows There isn't too much going on the generators just yet. One eruption application
Técnicamente está jugando perfecto. Sí, he cometido un error, pero técnicamente perfecto.
coming out here as well on one of the generators. So working in favor of our killer. 60% over here, but Osaka will rush.
Claro, Gustavo dice, ven a por mí, que te hacen el motor por otra parte. Y obviamente el deterioro no se la va a comer. Porque no se la va a comer. Va a irse al motor que tiene que ir.
Back. We see a little bit of a baiting.
¿Veis? Tiene cerebro, ¿vale? De mecánica sería a por este directo.
Here, I feel like the ace wants to force the attention. That's why he's appearing in front of the Blight, but Osaka is too experienced to take that bait. We'll just go down towards the bottom side here. Free rescue on the top side. 2 survivors now on the main building generator. But this has potential, right? If they are forcing the killer into splitting up between main and shack,
Osaka, cuidado con ese motor, lo que te lo van a hacer.
that has a good chance to be generator number 4 that we really need.
Definitely dire. What a
Nah, es que no se la lían, ¿eh? Aquí ha sido un buen sprint, la verdad, ha sido un buen sprint porque ir para atrás y luego ir para adelante, pero es que no se la lían, porque yo ya sabe quién tiene sprint y sabe lo que tiene que hacer.
nice! Oh, that was almost insane. I mean, that first,
Aquí, cagada de Billy, cagada de Billy.
that first spin
Se ha metido en el armario para evitar el hit, pero lo ha hecho muy bien.
was absolutely incredible. But taking the tag right there, Osaka's no new player on Blight. He
Creo que le hacen el motor, chicos, creo que se lo hacen.
definitely knew what to expect in that lethal rush right there.
Ah, ya está, pues ya está, acaban de ganar.
So he bounced and took the next hit.
There it is.
Unfortunately for Osaka, the next
Entiendo que se metieron al armario porque decían que te coja del armario que pierde más tiempo y se lo acabamos. También entiendo que lo he hecho por eso.
generator does pop. But what an incredible performance so far. Super stoked about what we're seeing right now. It's been an absolute incredible performance from both sides here.
Hostia, porque poco.
Very close with the lethal rush hit. That was just centimeters behind Sweet Child's back right there. I think Osaka actually took a couple of pieces of lint off of the back of her Christmas sweater there. Not finding any more gen progress though. What are your thoughts about what's going on right now, Dire? This is extremely tense.
Yeah, I hope for Sinners that they can reward themselves in the great
Hostia,
patience
el outtime, chavales.
that they have shown here. Sweet Child with a pretty nice mind
Buah, aquí están los dos, ¿sabes?
game there on the ballot. I'm sure he is asking himself, how am I still alive? It would be great if they can finish generator number 5 as well, just since they are playing on the survivor side again in the upcoming Singularity trial. I do think, however,
La agilidad.
that we are going to see the end now. Very likely Osaka will just not.
Ya han ganado, así que no pasa nada por ahora morir todos. Veamos, Osaka ha jugado literalmente perfecto, ¿eh? Y aún así han hecho 4 motores, o sea, ¿hola? O sea, ha jugado el killer perfecto. Ha cometido un error, creo, y ya está, perfecto. Y le han hecho 4 motores. O sea, eso denota mucho de cómo está el juego en competitivo. Para nada está Subiside, para nada, en absoluto, la verdad. O sea, que un tío juegue un tier ese perfecto y que se coma 4 motores como recompensa, pues eso. Pero ya os digo, como deterioró, o sea, que lo ha jugado mejor que Jason, ¿eh? O sea, eso es un hecho, ¿vale? Jason ha ganado, pues, por bueno, decisiones también y los suplentes de Senes han jugado mejor, no sé cómo son. Así que nada, vamos para la siguiente partidita. Va de momento empate, 1-1. No, me he equivocado, estoy gilipollas. No me he equivocado. 1-1. 5-37, 29. Pues vale, ok. Vale, aquí está. Singularidad. Otro killer muy débil, la verdad, es bastante débil, por cierto hace lo que puede, solo se pepea hacia tu culo y luego te revienta, pero bueno, es un killer muy fuerte, ¿vale? Fuera de este caso.
Ladies and gentlemen.
A este nivel tiene ese, ¿vale? O sea, vamos siempre con Carnicero, que le viene muy, pero que muy bien. ¡Ostras! Van con esta perk de... ¿Cómo se llamaba? Eso es normal, es de los gemelos. Es muy buena perk. Esta yo la usaba hace bastante tiempo. La han bufado. También por eso lo están jugando. Lo que hace es que el killer pega patada a un motor y en 3 motores que están en progreso 6 supervivientes les salta una prueba de habilidad muy difícil, ¿vale? Que, bueno, pueden acertarla o fallarla. Si la falla, información para el killer y encima baja el motor. Que el motor está en progreso pero no está siendo avanzado por ningún superviviente, empieza a bajar solo, como si estuviese ruina, básicamente. Esta brutalidad veloz que le va de perlas a la seguridad y el pim pam pum. Va a ser intervención corrupta muy arriesgado, muy arriesgado, porque el early de este bicho es lo más difícil que, o sea, lo más débil que tiene. Pero si es capaz de pasar del early, bien hecho.
Gentlemen, let's take a quick look at
Y bueno, y los usadores más fuertes de este bicho.
the top of the screen. It's not Nightlights.
Este mapa es muy bueno para la seguridad, para que lo sepáis. Este mapa, la seguridad tiene bastante ventaja, entonces lo normal es que se lleve a los 4, ¿vale? Es lo normal.
So we are not here for an hour. Everyone must remember the legendary Singularity 3 gen set where Nightlight was playing through the entire night, next morning walking to his doctor.
Para vigilar este motor suelen poner aquí una cámara, justo enfrente. No encima está mal puesto, sino aquí enfrente.
Getting an excuse to not show up anywhere and then getting back at the PC and playing out the trial. This is what we might see on the Dead Dog Saloon though, because this map can have some pretty heavy gen spawns. And if you're not doing a good job from the beginning of the trial, getting rid
Ya está con Mini.
of those generators, then you might find yourself in a tricky environment. And that applies for these two survivors that are already facing the first teleport onto them. Jason taking the injury here. And we're gonna have the rapid brutality coming in.
Qué buen disparo ahí.
So no bloodlust for our killer, instead a little bit of haste after getting the injury. Short look, who
Easy peasy.
dropped that pallet. That was Jason, who's now taking the down, and that is a dream start for Angels here. This is how you want to kick off your trial, but Sinner's immediately responding, even
Este turno debería haberse comido.
though it's only 1 minute and 5 seconds. That's a
Este tiene piruleta, así que no va a pasar
very
nada.
good sign on the generators there.
100% Dire. A generator already being finished with the first down. Not something terrible that the survivors are seeing here. With that being said, there is... Let's see here. Stack pallets already down, not being kicked yet. Potentially being saved for
Pues para no tener interacción corrupta, muy bien, la verdad, muy bien el
an overclock break, which we might see later.
Se quita el motor por ser gancho flagelante, pero no la tiene.
Got a few biopods already around.
Muy curioso que haya preferido la otra perk, la de los gemelos, antes que gancho flagelante, porque como las cosas como son, gancho flagelante es más fuerte,
On
¿vale?
the map. That's looking good for the killer here. Angels on the Singularity here. Like you said, 105 first down. Not the worst time that we've seen for Singularity for sure. With the overclock mode being a very good chase tool, that's not uncommon.
Now, who's going to take care of Jason is the question there. Seemed like survivors were for a short moment trying
Qué buenas cámaras ha puesto, las cámaras le están dando muchísima ventaja. Esas cámaras, chavales, papel y boli, para pasar un deporte en el mapa.
to decide if the
Se nota que tienen muchísimas partidas llevadas en la parte.
generator pressure or the Anok is more important. Now the killer back onto Vinny here. We have 1 injury across the board, now 2 injuries, so this is really what can be dangerous about the Singularity, because now 1 teleport onto an injured survivor is almost the
Sabía persona está metiendo tú, hola.
immediate down. That's why survivor teams very often opting to go for the reset, but there
Es que Jason va a llegar al segundo stage, le interesa mucho estar aquí.
we have the sloppy butcher coming out from Angels here, making that incredibly longer, or sometimes even with the effect that
Este killer está jodidamente fuerte.
teams say let's not go for the
Creo que está el trampero ahí poniendo trampas por el mapa.
reset and instead taking the risk. Second generator, however, is coming out together with the second hook stage onto Jason. I feel like Sinners has a clear plan. I'm only a bit worried about the injured survivors and that they might find themselves with an unexpected down here, because so far our killer is playing really well.
Claro, se va la hostia y ya gancho.
That's absolutely right, Dyer. And with that sloppy butcher coming in, the survivors are staying injured for longer, making resets take more time and keeping survivors injured And with the overclocks coming in and the teleports coming in, it's keeping survivors injured even longer because he's pressuring everything and everyone around the map. That's one thing that Singularity is incredibly good.
Pues aquí Jason muy bien con el tema de, por cierto, es por el lado que le metería profunda. Es asqueroso para que no, básicamente no tenga ningún tipo de protección. Aquí Jason muy bien metiéndose entre las estructuras, tal, para que no le pueda meter el disparo directo, que Ángel se acaba de correr un poquito más, pero vamos, Ángel dice, no pasa nada, tengo cámaras, pum, me voy hacia tu culo. O sea, los dos muy bien, pero Ángel obviamente super. Ha puesto muy buenas cámaras, muy buenas cámaras.
Around the entire map. There is no such thing as a 3-gen with Singularity because anything is a 3-gen if he has enough biopods around the map for it. That being said, another generator does
y aún así los motores vuelan y vuelan y vuelan, no sé.
Come through. How is Angel going to respond to this? Jason dead, Sweet Child on the ground right now. It's not looking terrible. It could potentially come to an end at this point if the survivors don't respond fast enough.
Aquí Switch no sé qué hace, lanzando en paleta una seguridad que tiene puesto la resistencia.
Oh my god!
Aquí Switch cagada gigante.
God. That did not pan out how Sweet Child wanted it to, I'd say.
Pero qué cojones están haciendo, tío. Aquí Switch y SMS rango 20 a partido, que ya sabéis que son jodidamente unos bestias, ¿vale? Pero aquí, madre mía, cagadas gigantes.
Absolutely not. This is not paying
Ya es partida para hacer básicamente, eso ya es partida.
out at all, and this is turning in just a few moments here into a potential catastrophe for Team Sinners. Winnie is the last one. Winnie is over here. Winnie has been located. And very soon, Vinny is very likely going to be down here. Angels, an absolute danger on the Singularity. Beautiful play by him. And what a clean fall.
Está, por cierto, mal esto, lo de los verdecitos no dura tanto, ¿vale? Está,
Okay.
Si os fijáis, ha roto a velocidad.
On two generators.
Pues por dos errores muy gordos por parte de SMS y Switch Child, pues todo el equipo al pozo, básicamente. Vamos para allá. Creo que no hay liberación ni hay nada, me parece. Vale,
Of rapid brutality.
ahí está. Ángel, de verdad, menuda bestia. Hostias, ha jugado que te cagas. Que te cagas, literalmente. Ha jugado brutal, literalmente. Brutal. O sea, lo ha jugado perfecto. O sea, increíble. Y nada, pues 3 motores. Pero, o sea, al final te va a hacer 4 cambios, ¿vale? Te la va a hacer. Pero 3 motores son bastantes motores, la verdad. Son bastantes motores. Son pocos motores, mejor dicho. Así que nada, vamos a ver. 5. Vale, 5-32. Voy para atrás.
Stages. Well, then you tried. You lost the set point as it was.
Jason, bien. Va con casi la misma build. Lleva salmuera, interesante, porque la bufaron la salmuera. Entonces, pues se la habrán puesto. ¿Qué tenía el otro? En vez de salmuera, que hace 8-0, ¿cierto? Para mí es mejor que hace 8-0 que salmuera, pero bueno.
You could say to yourself, expect it, and then you can just make the next one. So, there's definitely the chance here for Jason to take something absolutely crazy. He is setting up the first few pots already to have a little bit of an idea where the survivors are, at least.
¿Ves esta cámara para controlar toda esta zona y el motor de chip?
Regarding the gallows area, and I feel like we have seen someone over here or heard some generator noises. There was the crow. So there's a survivor actually over here. Will be interesting how quick Jason can get into this first chase and how quick he can get the first down. I feel like with this win condition, he should have gotten the first down already yesterday.
Absolutely, yesterday is definitely needed, Dyer. With that being said, if Jason has his head on his shoulders, he's already identified the 3-gen that he wants to protect on this map, on Dead Dog Saloon, or Alive Cat Saloon, excuse me, that's the term we're using right now. Finding a hit onto Nini after already injuring Lusky. Got some biopods set up around the map at main building, around Gallows, around Shack. Definitely some good places to have coverage on with your biopods to make sure that if a survivor crosses into those areas to break the 3-gen, VJ.
Yo voy a esperar aquí que será que va a ser el sprint de que equilibrada, porque si no ahora te va a sacar distancia.
Jason's going to see, he's going to find the survivor breaking into that 3-10. That being said, not finding the overclock break, swings a little bit too late, but does get the hit
Bueno, le da hit, pero pilla menos, está bien.
onto Wancy there. Still has the slipstream onto their back there. So definitely still going to be in a bit of a pickle here.
Hasta luego, Wancy.
But is he going to find this down here? He is, before he makes it to the window. Wancy does not make it to the window, finds themselves on the ground in the saloon. Going to keep a slug on the ground, building up some pressure early on in the game, just like we mentioned.
El otro se arriesga mucho, el Lusty.
Does find Lusty coming in for the pickup. Not going to happen, except for from Wee Jason. The survivors won't pick Wancy up. Wee Jason will.
Yeah, so first generator will come out in exchange for the first hook stage. Always good for the survivor team to get one objective out of the way when the killer is taking the first hook stage. Remember everyone.
Es decir que el sprint contra la seguridad no se ve nada. Porque espera que se acabe el sprint y se lanza a tu.
Win condition is very difficult here for the killer. 4K
A no ser que lo aguantes en exceso. Si lo aguantas hasta que te en tu culo, entonces sí.
on 2 gen standing would still only be the tie. 4K on 3 gen standing is what we need. So we're basically on halftime, considering the win condition here for Team Sinners. And CYNIC is getting the unhook relatively for free here.
No llega por distancia.
Yeah, there's too little pressure if you're asking me, Rob. When you are having a win condition like this, you need injuries across the board, you need chases across the board, you need a tunnel out into elimination across the board. But here we have downtime, and downtime is an advantage for the survivors that are now working on the generators, and this downtime is just not allowed to happen.
It's definitely not dire. This is not looking good right now for Wee Jason on Singularity. That being said, that pressure can come in because Singularity is a killer that can provide a lot of pressure around the map. Wee Jason just needs the opportunity to find that pressure and apply it. He does have biopods around the map. He does have an injury on the board. He does have a hook state onto Wancy. He just needs more of it. It's going to be difficult to find. Shack Pallet getting out of the trial at 4 generators remaining. Can he find another down onto Wancy? Another generator pops. 1 generator away from the
Ay no, es muy difícil hacer el body block a la segunda.
tie
Muy
for the
difícil.
2 teams here. Finding another down onto Wancy, going to pick up and get the hook. This is still not looking good despite having that hook. Although I have to mention, there are 2 survivors that are currently slipstreamed. If they don't manage that well, this could turn into a bit of
Creo que no llegaba, si no le hacía un body block para el cuerpo.
a situation for the survivors of CYNIC here.
Yeah, my head starts spinning soon because of all the turns
Nadie ha fallado skill check o nadie había reparado.
that we are seeing in these matches here. CYNIC and Sinners are playing an absolute role.
Esta es la diferencia principal entre Angels y Jason. Angels ha puesto cámaras nivel Dios.
Roller coaster match here. One team is ahead, the other one is taking the set point then, but only with 1 generator. Then they play Survivor again. They get 4K'd. Now Jason was starting pretty, I would say, not optimal, with a lot of downtime.
Tiene que subirse aquí para hacerlo.
But now there's a chance potentially with the incoming elimination on Wancy in case that is going to be a successful one. So he is just so on edge here, and that is what I love about the seasons that we're having. When these top 10 teams are playing against each other, you can just not predict anything. The wildest things are happening. and this is what makes it such a great competition to watch. Vancy, however, only with 10 additional seconds here. Where's the rescue squad? Lusty is the one-man rescue squad, you could say, coming in here. Is it going to be, though?
Esto es mega roto para tunelear, probablemente es el moco, que no puedes hacer nada contra él, se va a tu cuerpo y el tiempo que está otro metes por culo, así.
The free walk for Vancy, the answer is no, obviously not. You want to cut it down into the 3v1 scenario, so we, Jason, just continuing the chase
Ha hecho mal el salto, Si hace bien el salto Wansi, yo creo que no le da.
with his target survivor, successfully doing that. Lusty will need to be picked up in the distance, which also slows down the generator pressure again. So let's see, maybe Jason will be a magician here.
Absolutely, some magic's definitely needed, Dire. Lancy's going to be out of the game now.
Vale, gracias el motor.
And I was about to say
Este motor será el más avanzado del de arriba.
3 generators left, but the next generator does pop, now making it only a tie possible for Sinners here this match. That's not looking good for Jason. That being said, the first down, I don't think it was mentioned, came in at 1 minute and 49 seconds this match. Not exactly what the Sinners want here this match. But either way,
Tiene piruleta, así que el próximo moco se lo quitará.
I do think it's possible for Jason to bring this back to a tie only and not a win for the survivors of CYNIC this match. He just needs to find the way to provide pressure around the map, get some slugs on survivors, pressure the generators, interrupt the resets. He needs to do that, Dire, or else this is going to be a loss for Sinners.
Yeah, the to-do list of Jason is unfortunately much longer than what he has achieved so far. The elimination was just one important step, basically. We are on the
Nadie avanzando en la partida, el motor bajando y bueno, los motores bajando y nadie avanza nada.
tie condition at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, since it's a new system, we want to emphasize on it. Ties are not replayed, so it is possible that they tie here and then we play set number 4, and whoever wins set number 4 is going to win 2-1, taking 3 points for the standings. It's also possible that they tie on Singularity, tie on Artist, and we say goodbye in a 1-1 and both teams take 1 point, just like
Este palet es ridículo, literalmente.
in football. I think that is important to keep in mind here. So Jason trying to get the down on this relatively weak pallet, but Nini is turning it into the shack almost.
Muy bien aquí Nini dando la otro palet, aprovechando.
Very good run and also getting the stun here. Phenomenal play by the CYNIC survivor, prolonging the down and making sure that Lusty and
Muy bien Nini.
Angels have quite some pressure into the generators over there. This is peak gameplay right here.
Absolutely, Dire. Also, I do want to mention the use of Soma family photo. It was used last match, but as you
No me lo puedo ni creer.
could see earlier, and even right now, it puts the survivor into the deep wound state,
No me lo puedo ni creer.
which prevents the
Con el sprint le mete la linterna, os lo digo yo. Es fácil. O sea, según te coja el killer, mete el sprint y la linterna en la cara.
from using any endurance perks or even base kit endurance from the unhook, which I have to say is an excellent tool for tunneling. It's almost as good as the Cenobites add-on, which I believe is original pain. That being said, Jason is starting to get some more pressure going around the map. Angels finding
Pues F por Ángel.
a slipstream,
La intención era buena, pero Jason muy atento, ha vuelto para atrás.
and Lusty did have to leave to go get another EMP. Angels doing the exact same right now in order to get that off of them, prevent with Singularity, Jason from teleporting to them and interrupting them on their generators, which they are absolutely trying to commit to at their hardest right now. Because one more generator pops and CYNIC takes the win this set. But if Jason can prevent that, the tie is very possible.
El sistema anti-camp.
The slipstream coming in very slow here from the unhook, but going to find it after Nini does move far enough away from the hook. The biopod over here by Main still being broken from the EMP earlier that Angels used to get off of him earlier.
Tiene pinta de empate, chicos.
Main building being worked right now with the survivor with Deja Vu. That's definitely something that Jason
Porque la perk esta que lleva de que empiezan a bajar todos los motores a la vez, eso cuanto menos motores hay es muy fuerte.
Wants to interrupt, not wanting to find any more gens being completed. He definitely needs to go interrupt that.
Now, back to main building here. Nini with the injury. Lusty and Angels healthy. So we still have these two survivors that can take some risk, can take an injury, can more freely work on the generators, so to say. But we are catching the injured survivor. Jason knows that he needs the downs quickly. Therefore, 2 times with an optimistic swing. Nini, I don't know, put Nini
Ahí Nini se ha tropezado un poquillo.
only on the weak pallets, I feel like, because he's able to really show up when it's these difficult tiles. Very well done again, wasting the maximum time possible. And Jason doesn't have the time to go
Tiene prioridad, pero quizá le da tiempo a viajar, quizá le da tiempo
for
todavía.
the hook. Needs to remember that there are survivors waiting and lurking around
No, ya se lo ha quitado, joder, qué rápido.
the generators. And this is difficult now, right? Because whenever the survivors decide what you can do and what you can't do on the killer side, this is pretty tricky for yourself, because
Muy bien aquí la
usually you in the killer role should tell them what's going on.
Now, I don't know if you noticed, Dyer, but Angels getting the pickup and the heal onto Nini there also took a slipstream. And that's something that you definitely want to avoid.
Ahí hay superviviente.
Because if the Singularity player, Jason here, in this instance, notices that, he can capitalize on it pretty quickly.
Mira, todo disparado, o sea, no hacen nada.
Efficiently, which is exactly what he's trying to look for right now, because that is going to potentially turn into a lethal situation for the team of Sinners. That being said, not finding much of anything, but all 3 remaining survivors are currently afflicted with Slipstream, which, if they don't find an EMP soon, this can be capitalized on. However, Jason not finding anyone with the biopods just yet. It looks like that might be what they're doing. He does interrupt. Angels here grabbing the EMP. Very nice game sense. Definitely has some hours on the Singularity there, knowing to interrupt survivors at the EMP boxes. Very well played. Getting the hit.
Ahí se tranca un poquillo, Ángel.
Through the window. Wow. But that being said, as soon as Angels entered chase, the other 2 survivors definitely knew to get started on getting on a generator while Jason was occupied. Very good communication from the teams there.
And this is now the standstill game that we can have on the Singularity, right? The good defense of the generator without the free chance for the survivors to stay unnoticed, basically. This is what makes it so difficult now when we are talking about the Singularity here. Jason is doing a wonderful job not overcommitting and spending too much time in a chase. Always remember.
Efectivamente, dice el comentarista que Jason está jugando muy bien, no overcomiteando, en plan pasándose de rosca con las persecuciones, en plan está haciendo lo justo para meterles presión y ya está. Y luego vuelta a los motores, que es el verdadero objetivo del juego, el protegerlos.
Remembering their generators to defend, and Lusty with the next injury here. Now 2 survivors injured, little bit of progress compared to earlier. Deep wound effect as well. That's going to be some extra time needed until the reset can come through.
Oh, error.
But what's the next move here from Killers and Survivors? Into the main building they go, doubling up potentially. Lusty has to mend, so he's not a survivor to worry about anymore. So the killer will return back towards the main building. This is actually so close. This will be a game that is coming down to a couple of seconds, and we have Nini again on this weaker palette. Let's see if he's able to waste as much time again. Not until the injury at least, and I feel like there we overpeaked
Es que es un palet horrible.
a little bit. So this time it's going to be the quick down on this palette, but Jason just cannot go
Dentro del SAC muy inteligentes porque saben que ahí no hay cámaras.
for the pickup. Has to remember The survivors are around, but they will use the time to go for the reset, so the gens are not going to be progressed here. Yeah, Rob, we are moving towards the standstill, I feel like. Next mistake costs the game.
Sí, efectivamente, próximo error por cualquier parte cuesta la partida.
Absolutely, and that's what I always say. One mistake is all it takes for the balance to tip in either side's favor. But that being said, both teams are definitely putting up a very good fight here. Jason's spreading a lot of pressure
Un poco falso, pero bueno, cosas como
on the map. Getting the down, I didn't think that would hit, but it did. Wow, Jason has a pretty long reach.
Tarda un poco en activarse la pirueta, ya lo sabéis, y no ha dado tiempo esta vez. Tenía que haberse juntado con alguna estructura mientras quitaba su propio moco y la cámara. Pero claro, no se ha ocultado con nada, pues...
Weapon there.
Y creo que este es el error que estaba buscando Jason.
Getting another injury onto Lusty there. But as I've been saying, as I was saying, the survivors did make a good response in getting the reset off in Shack, where the biopods weren't seeing exactly. They didn't have any sight on the inside of Shack, so Jason didn't find that reset. Although with the changes recently, you can hear sounds now through the biopods, so I'm surprised he didn't hear either of the survivors groaning in pain.
Dios mío, tengo.
But yes, this is definitely coming to a standstill right now.
Wow.
Not much gun pressure. Getting all three survivors.
Muy bien aquí Jason, viene adentro de main porque sabe que no hay cámaras, hay los mentes, tienes un sitio para curarse y él viene a patita, muy bien.
Now currently injured. This is very
Aquí mal el TP, hay que aguantar un poquito que su mente salga del salto para hacer el TP.
dangerous for the survivors of CYNIC. They need to make another reset happen and get on Generator's stat. Otherwise, this is going to be potentially a huge snowball situation for Jason right here to capitalize on. Almost getting that slipstream teleport onto that main building generator there. Very nice fastball coming in from Ninny there, taking this chase to the backside pallet here. Will we see it down? Yes, we will. A lot of slugs coming through right now.
Guau, qué buen TP, chaval.
This is definitely a lot of pressure that the survivors of CYNIC are going to have to keep putting
No llega, qué locura, tío, el salto por ventana.
up with. Another down onto Angels. This is looking very bad right now for the survivors of CYNIC. They need to do something
Está herido y le va a escuchar, ¿vale? Le va a escuchar 100%.
about this. Lusty has a lot on his shoulders right now. He needs to act.
Absolutely. Lusty is responsible for pretty much everything. Healing,
¿No lo has visto?
repairing,
Wow.
fixing, just everything that you can imagine here. And
Ahí
unfortunately,
está, pues está, yes.
they are also injured, and they are also located, and they are also
Bueno, da igual, iba a morir igualmente, pero bueno, ha muerto un poquito, en fin, XD. Vale.
Actually, what they have
Me cachondeo mucho, cuando veo cosas así me río, pero es que no puedo evitar que se ríe así. Vale, yo sé que a estos jugadores tengo mucho respeto, pero si hacen una cosa, rango 20, pues me la risa, es lo que hay. Vamos, respeto por mi parte tiene el máximo. Pues nada, muy bien jugado por Jason, ha jugado en tema de decisiones espectacular. Para mí ha puesto peores cámaras que Ángel. Ángel me ha gustado más su singularidad, pero Jason en tema de decisiones perfecto. Se nota la experiencia por un tubo, la verdad. En tema de decisiones ha jugado 10 y por eso pues empate la partida. Vale, pues empate. Cuando es empate no hay puntos para nadie, básicamente, ¿vale? Si os fijáis van a seguir 1-1. Así que nada, vamos para la siguiente partidita. Creo que era espíritu, pero no estoy seguro. Ah, no, artista, cierto, artista. Artistita. Yo diría que es el segundo personaje que mejor juego. Bueno, o jugaba porque ya no juego, pero tenía muy buen nivel con ella. Y nada, seguro que vamos a ver a una que es literalmente Dios, bueno, Jason como artista es brutal. Va con el huevito para tener 4 cuervos y con las manos para que cuando el cuervo vaya a un superviviente se divida a otros, si están cercanos entre sí. Y nada, pero es interesante la utilidad veloz. Vamos, creo que nunca he visto utilidad veloz con artista. Está bien, o sea, es una buena perk porque con artista casi siempre vas a dar más M1 que cuervos en sí. porque digamos que los cuervos te sirven para que suplementes a tu estructura, pero no se va a meter en el camino, ¿sabes? Así que, pero bueno, yo no la recomiendo igualmente, porque en públicas vais a dar muchos cuervos y esta perk solo funciona cuando haces M1. Y erupción y pim pam pum, va otra vez sin intervención corrupta Jason, los tiene bien grandes y, porque ya os digo, el R este killer es algo débil, porque hay muchos motores que defender. Con intervención corrupta se te vuelve más sencillo, pero bueno, a ver qué tal.
Welcome back, everyone, from that
Y ya ha lanzado un cuervo, ¿vale? Bueno, lo ha puesto, mejor dicho. Entonces se va a poner otro cuervo.
short break. We are now heading in to our artist match on Azeroth.
Ha lanzado Suffocation 2 cuervos en el mismo sitio para que uno impacte detrás de otro.
Resting
Pero eso que salga difícil, pero bueno, a veces.
place. We Jason already sending dire crows out in order to find survivors. Already trying to repair a generator at Shack, but not finding very much progress so far at all.
Si os fijáis, ponen cuervo a los artistas, simplemente se pierde el sitio, o sea, que ni se lo piensan.
Going to take this first chase on to Wancy here, right outside of Shack. Balance landing not coming out here, it looks like, but setting up a dire crow at the pallet.
Esto cuidado porque te puedes ir mal, meterle un cuervo y tú ir detrás de él, cuidado porque cuando te comes un paletazo te pillan distancia, que con esto tenés mucho cuidado.
Wancy definitely not going to want to stay there and take a potential dire crow hit or tag, either way, not wanting to be there for that. Going to take the M1 and head to the opposite side of the map towards the main building. But not many survivors over there to speak of, so a lot of gen pressure can definitely come out of this first chase.
Por cierto, en este mapa artista, bueno, en este mapa con cualquier killer, pero sobre todo un artista, se juega solo en una zona, ¿vale? Si cuelga aquí, solamente se queda aquí durante toda la partida.
But here is Angels in order to...
Brutal. Ha puesto ahí los 4 cuervos que tiene y al cebollón ha pegado a Ace y aparte a Ace.
Body block, getting the hit. Very well played there from
El Ace se lo va a quitar porque recordad que cuantos más cuervos tiras, más tiempo tardas en recuperarlos, así que no se lo piensa. Y...
Jason, very nice dire crow snipe. That was incredible, and for the artist enjoyers, that had to be something really incredible to see.
Very well played from Jason. This is what we need to see if you are a Sinners fan. 59 seconds for that very first down. Good result. That is barely something you can get faster done. Nini hopping into the locker to get rid of the crows real quick. And then using here this little crack under the truck to see through and locating where the killer is. Few snipes are expected to go back towards the hooked survivor in order to defend. Jason himself is also moving around here, so we have an absolute fortress built around Wancy here. Nice snipe onto Nini. Just joined back onto the generator over there. Has a locker in reach, so this is now just going to be a back and forth here in worst case between taking the crows and getting them off. First generator coming out for CYNIC. Nice dodge there. There was a good call out potentially coming out from Wancy that the crows are about to get shot and then allowing Nini to make the dodge there. That was a beautiful team play from Team CYNIC.
Absolutely. Very good communication is required for these artist sets because...
No, qué cagada, lol, qué pedazo de cagada, tú. Jason, no me hagas estas cosas, por Dios.
The artist is very capable of sniping people across the map with the dire crows.
Qué pedazo de cagada, no puedes hacer esto.
And that's good for multiple reasons.
Perdón.
Not just for injuring survivors, but also for slowing down the progression of generators reset from very far away. The artist being incredible at ranged obnoxiousness, I'm going to say, because that's almost exactly what it is definitely a huge asset to slowing down the game. Finding another snipe onto Nini here, but no locker in sight for...
No le ha dado hola, tío. Qué suerte por parte para Nini.
Dire crows available, missing all 4 of them. Going for a very ambitious...
O sea, fallar 4 es jodido, O sea, es bastante jodido.
Swing onto the pallet. They're hoping Nini would come back to drop it, but not...
No da ese kill, por Dios.
Finding home. Missing that swing too. Wow! What an incredible... response to the...
A mi error, si hubiese metido los cuervos a la vuelta, le da tiempo a lanzarlos. Le da tiempo, yo os digo yo.
Situation
Que le tengo muy bien pillado al terminar este bicho.
that Jason was trying to put Nini in, but not finding anything in return. No injure coming out of that chase. Jason having to leave to come back and protect the generators already.
Por poco el pim pam pum.
Getting pop goes the Weasel at the very last second. 59 seconds, just the same as the first down in the match, Dire.
Few snipes being shot again at the survivors of CYNIC here, not finding the target. They are more aware now that this is one strategy that Jason is using here, and the next one in chase seems to be Nini, at least the artist coming over here, checking on the generator, forcing the regression, making sure that the generators, especially
Muy bien, Nini, no sé
up here where he wants to defend his setup,
Por Dios, Jason, que se dejó la por aquí al lado.
staying together. Doesn't find Nini though.
No sé, o sea.
Sending a few crows out in a second, staying a little bit longer.
Coño, has visto que estaba reparando en tu cara, se ha ido hacia la derecha mientras tú rompías el palet. No sé.
He definitely knows that there's a survivor in this area. He's suspicious about it, cannot pinpoint where the survivor is exactly located. Lusty taking a shot here. Angels needs to move away from the pallet as the crow has just
Por poco.
been placed here. Will now be using the midsection. Back and forth a little bit, trying to throw off the killer with the double back. Worked for a moment there. Very good pathing by Angels, completely throwing
Muy bien, Ángel, brutal.
off our killer here. That
Como ha dicho el comentarista.
kinda costed some seconds.
Absolutely, Dire. Angel's pathing is definitely
Que los tiene un poquito más, tenía que haber tirado un poquito uno a la izquierda para este camino.
not meant to be underestimated. He can definitely
Está jugando mecánicamente eso un poco regular, sinceramente.
throw the killer for a loop. No punch
Es un killer difícil, artista, es un killer difícil, pero está cometiendo muchos fallos.
intended. Another generator does come out while Jason is in chase with Nini here near another generator that is very high progress. Jason is in a bit of a situation here that he needs to find a way
Aquí tenía que haber sido hit. Hit y no pájaro, sino hit.
to. Oh, another generator pops in the distance there. This is not looking good. They're almost at one generator left, Dire. This is not good. Not many hook states to speak of right now. Not many injuries on the board. Jason needs to do something about this. This could result in a loss for Sinners if CYNIC can put up a better performance on the Artist next match.
Yeah, and
Wow.
this is the tricky thing, right? They are
Pues lo toma poco la partida. Han hecho un motor de lado, quedan dos en este lado y uno en el otro.
working on the gens that Jason tried to defend, and this is another one that you. Yeah, yes, it has popped. What do you want from me, Lara? She's just disagreeing
Me dice no, la, y el caster, yes.
with us. But they are working on the generators that Jason tried to defend, especially with the first hook stage that he got there. It was clear he
Lo están pelando bastante hardcore a Jason.
wants to defend the main side of Azeroth's resting place, and that absolutely didn't work.
Yes.
We now
Buah, no sé cómo ha llegado, sinceramente.
have the most horrendous generator setup remaining from the entire bottom inside shack to the absolute top behind the main building. So this is easy to attack for the survivors of Team Sinners. CYNIC, they're gonna feel very comfortable doing this. Even the hook in the midsection here is not going to change a lot about it, because you still have to travel half of the map, and then when you have taken a look at one of the gens, you need to go absolute cross map on the other side. Surprising that they are touching this generator over here. Could expect that they are now going behind the main building to stretch it out even further, but in case the survivor team is not becoming too confident here and making a mistake, they should not lose this.
No llega.
Correct there, Dire.
Pues sí, llegaba, pensé que no llegaba.
Finding another chase onto Lusty here near the bottom side of the map, close to Shack. Far away from that generator that had a lot of progress on it, Dire. This might
Hostia, se le ha jugado, pasa por delante, pero soy bien.
not be the best chase to take here, but there's not many chases that Jason is able to take here, really. A
Buenos cuervos ahí.
nice Dire Crow hit, still in the range of the injured there. Take
Claro, ¿para qué? Para ganchos fragilante. Aquí Wansi se quería cambiar por él porque ya no hay ganchos fragilantes por su parte.
the hit onto Lusty, getting right through that body block. Said that body block doesn't matter.
No le ha pegado.
But the flashlight blind
Buah, por poquísimo.
almost coming through. Wow, that was a chain of events that all just had me on the edge of my seat right there, Dire. That could have been extremely wrong. The body block, the flashlight blind, none of it
Cuidado que aquí se puede dar la vuelta,
coming through. Wee Jason just walked straight through that with absolutely no chill. What an insane job by Wee Jason.
No sé. Aquí Jason, mucha prisa. Yo hubiese aguantado un poquito más.
There.
Y aquí le metes un cuervo y lo encierras. Ya está, no hace falta snipearle.
Almost hitting that snipe right there. No follow-up though.
Wow.
Almost getting the tag. Very close onto Nini there,
Ya
but
está.
he's going to follow up right
Ah, no, claro que Angels estaba libre. Que ya soy gilipollas. Angels estaba completamente libre.
here. Looks like
Pero adiós.
the last generator pops behind Wee Jason's back. Oh man, Dire, this is not looking good, despite how much Wee Jason is really getting done here.
Claro, Nini tiene 0 cuelgues. Tienen que defenderla como sea.
What?
Y lo van a conseguir.
And a little bit of escalation here towards the end game. Vancy going down, and we have 3 injured survivors. You guys better run, especially Angels. Yeah, we Jason realizes.
Pues ya está.
Oh, never mind. That is
Han sido 5 cuelgues, bastante, muy pocos. Jason aquí mecánicamente le he visto bastante flojete, para lo que es su nivel, o que ya sabéis que yo si tengo un killer que es jodidamente bueno, le voy a pedir que sea jodidamente bueno. Si juega peor, pues mi deber es decirlo, obviamente, no comer aquí Jason es mis killers favoritos, pero no por eso le voy a comer la polla. O sea, eso ya sabéis que yo soy así. Pues muy bien jugado por el equipo por cierto lo diré, de CYNIC. Muy bien jugado, un juego súper bien. Y digo, Jason, flojete mecánicamente, la verdad. Bien, vamos a la siguiente partidita. Bam. Vale. 10 segundos para atrás.
Already,
Eso es.
Angel
Ha empezado la partida justo aquí, ¿vale? Con Gustavo ya con cuervos, ¿vale? Que lo sepáis. O sea, en el 26-33 literalmente. Pero bueno, han tardado en enseñarlo.
was going into the match.
Con ruina y con emoción de caza, interesante, para que tarden más tiempo en quitar la reunificación de pasta e interacción corrupta. Me gusta más esta build, las cosas como son, me gustan más.
Finding a snipe, but the survivor hopping to the locker last second before he sends more Dire Crows out to get them.
Y Ángel se ha visto muy bien jugando con la singularidad a nivel en plan mecánico, rapidez de reflejos. Solamente juega muy bien el artista.
Off of him before an injure comes in.
De momento tiene pinta, vamos, 5 goles es poco, debería ser la partida CYNIC, pero bueno, los ventas de seniors todavía pueden abrir.
That could have been a very early injure, but not finding its home here. Another Dire Crow goes out onto Gustavo, but also having lockers on this side of the map.
Qué bueno.
Free to use for the survivors here. I gotta say, very interesting build, very different from the last
Qué buena, Gustavo.
match. Coming in with Throw the
Brutal.
Hunt and Ruin, 2 hex perks.
Estas son mecánicas, meter estos cuerpos difíciles.
Whether or not they'll opt to cleanse those hex totems or not is going to be a very interesting watch here, Dire, I gotta say.
Yeah, Gustavo needs to make a very good run, right? That is the base for Sinner's game plan if they want to take the win here in the artist set, if that is supposed to work out.
Ya está. O sea, 3 cuervos. Porque yo juego siempre con estos addons, en las manos que ya he dicho para qué son. Y este addon es para que los cuervos os vuelvan con todo antes. Que se me ha olvidado, perdón. Yo siempre juego con estos addons.
Very
Para mi estilo de juego me parece más fuerte.
interesting decision from our killer with the ruin and the protection there.
Por el de frente estaba haciendo esto.
The threat of the hunt coming out to delay the totem cleanse and get a
Y a los dos. Hola, Ángel, por favor, para.
little bit of a hint. 2 survivors around. Sinner
Muy alto.
knows way better than we
Se la ha jugado que te cagas por nada, por una décima segunda.
do, that this first down came in way too quickly. If you want to play a 4-stage game, 2 survivors therefore lurking around, but since the pallet save hasn't worked out, this also means that Angels knows that maximum 1 survivor was working on the generator during this time, and this is basically giving you the information that you have a true early game on your hand.
Absolutely. Dire, I have to say, I was gritting my teeth knowing that Sweet Child was breathing
Por poco no nada.
down Angel's neck for the
Por
pallet
bastante
save
poco.
there. That was incredibly close, but it didn't find a stun onto Angels. He was able to avoid it by swinging out of the pallet stun range there. Very close. That could have been a huge setback for Angels' pressure around the map. But luckily for Angels, it didn't find a stun. That being said, we have our first hook onto Gustavo here, finding a chase onto Jason while it looks like the unhook was gotten for free. But
ahí ha tardado mucho en tirarlo, eso era hit. No le iba a tirar solo, le iba a meter en la área profunda, pero eso era hit.
Almost getting that hit. I think he should have launched the Dire Crow just a moment sooner, but it didn't land. So there's no Dire Crow coming on to Jason here, or to Gustavo here for another injure. He was able to make some distance away. Will find another hit though? No, he won't. Dire Crow misses. It looks like Gustavo made a turnaround back towards Jack.
Muy bien, Gustavo, se volta muy bien aquí.
Got a lot more distance. That is absolutely
Se ve que hay cuclillas aquí,
what Angels does not want right now. Maybe potentially setting up a Dire Crow snipe here.
Va a meter furvedura hacia la colina, seguramente.
But while kicking the pallet, I imagine Gustavo is leaving the area, getting
Me imaginaba, es que los killers son muy buenos, los jugadores son muy buenos de supervivientes son ser predecibles, en algunos casos.
zoned into the edge of the map behind the hill.
Porque hacen la mejor jugada posible, entonces por eso se predice.
Here, and another generator here being high progress by SMSFR here. Very nice to see for the survivors of Sinners. Another generator does pop in the distance as well. This is looking pretty difficult to handle this amount of pressure.
It's taking a little bit long, right? Until the next
Aquí no hay pared, porque se viene aquí SMS, tiene que ir a la grúa.
down is coming through here. Angels might have good ideas who to down. He might have a good idea where to hook them afterwards, but we need to down a survivor.
Aquí SMS mal, tenía que haber ido directamente a la grúa.
Nice fake attempt there. Going towards the pallet and then just holding W. Unfortunately, not going to be enough to escape the down right here. Good for Angels and good for Team CYNIC. The down now came through because Sinners was definitely getting ready for quite an exceptional comeback play there. But
perfecto. Está jugando perfecto.
we now see the slug, and Gustavo is just going to take a quick down as well, since we do have the down with the crows here. Survivors are taking care of one another. In the distance, we see the pickup, 50% on a generator next to the main building as well. So we're taking care of the injuries, we're taking care of the generators. Looking pretty sorted at the moment. The only problem is if we are having Steve with the crows and on the edge map with the next potential down here. Now Angels with much more pressure. However, we're switching over to Jason, and a little bit of rock circulating. Would make sense though if we are deciding to hook one of the fresher survivors. That will help later on with the win condition. One generator coming out here on the top side, and another one on 60% now that Jason has started over there. It's really impossible to predict at the moment how this trial is going. Both teams are playing well. Angels is back to getting ready.
Que sepáis que se lancen abajo los cuervos suben, ¿vale? No esperéis de
Relatively quick down.
Sí, jugar sin colina contra artista.
And having good pressure, but now 15 seconds later it already feels like Sinners is a step ahead and ready to run
Puedo de frente, por aquí, puedo haber un de frente.
Angels, so this is going to be such a close trial.
Very close, Dire.
¿Veis? Yo ya había abierto la tequilla de una, que a lo mejor eran dos, a lo mejor se puede equivocar, era 50-50, pero era muy obvio.
That being said, the head-on comes through and the blind comes through.
Si hubiese cogido del armario, ya es partida, automáticamente.
Onto Angel with a firecracker, but that means that Gustavo can be picked up without having to worry about a flashlight save. Angels definitely capitalized on that situation.
Tiene aquí 3 motores, 3 supervivientes. Para mí que esta partida se ha llevado a CYNIC.
Very well.
Bueno, el partido.
That could have been Angels finding him in the locker as well. The head-on was absolutely necessary. That's Gustavo out of the match at 2 generators left. That being said, Sinners have not been slouching on the gen progress. I am absolutely certain that there are generators being worked as we speak, and I'm sure that the reset is coming on to SMSFR at some point here soon. Another generator is just now being started by a wee Jason here. SMSFR is in chase before the reset can even come on to him. So he's going to need to make some time in this chase.
Ahí no puedes hacer nada, Como suplente ahí no puedes hacer una puta mierda.
Not going to happen, though. Takes it down with an M1 by Angels. Sweet Child looks like has another generator, about 50% progress. That's very good news for an average of Team Sinners. Because that now means 2 more generators are currently being worked, but another stack of Grim Embrace, which is a perk that I won't forgive you if you forgot was in play this trial, because the first survivor was tunneled out of the game. Grim Embrace's second stack comes through, going to delay the generator progress for sure. If that can see use before the end game, that's going to be a lot of utility here for Angels, because Grim Embrace is going to block the generator for a very long time with all 4 tasks completed. And with 3 survivors left, that might just happen.
Now, with our survivor sitting on the hook there, and Jason and Sweet Child being only 2 survivors that can take care of the rescue and the generators, it is slowly fading, the chances here, but we are still on 4 stages on 2 survivors, so things can still work out. You could even hand out 1 more stage on this survivor that is currently on the hook, then it would be 5 stages on only 2 survivors and still a win for Team Sinners here. So the question is, will they be able to just get the rescue and then chase so perfectly that they get enough time here to complete those generators? Sweet Child is doing a good job with all of these dodges. Very, very good work. Generator number 4 is coming out. However, in order to achieve that, we had to sacrifice hook stage number 5. So any additional stage, even if this survivor currently on hook dies, it's a win for CYNIC. If they rescue this and play a perfect trial, it's a win for Sinners. A tie is not possible any longer.
No.
Right. Oh.
Lanzó el hit tan rápido para intentar evitar el descuelgue, ¿vale? Siempre es un intercambio, pero por eso lo ha fallado.
Oh my god! I thought that was going to hit, just barely misses. That means that will not be a trade. Sinners is still in play. There is no current hook state. It is imminent, but it is coming very close. This is a very dangerously close situation for both teams. This could be either a win or loss, but it is extremely close, Dire. SMSFR takes the Dire Crow snipe. That is going to be... Wait!
Aquí error de Ángel porque había sangre justo delante. Te lo tienes que haber olido, que por ahí estaba unos supervivientes. Cagada grande.
No way! The flashlight save comes in!
Doble.
It just barely saves SMSFR from going onto the hook. What?
Cuidado que que Surby da cogida en
An incredible play. Very good coordination from the team of Sinners here. Absolutely
Qué buena, buah. Brutal. Sin visión.
Insane. But taking the down, that's still going to be the next hook stage. Unless
Again?
No! It could have happened though, but I think we, Jason,
Otra vez no, chavales, otra vez.
was the flashlight survivor.
¿Qué hacían los casteros? Otra vez petardos, tal, no.
So it couldn't have happened. The firecracker was used earlier. That is the win for Team CYNIC. Very close matchup this entire time.
Claro, ya está, 6 cuelgues para CYNIC. Ellos, si les había hecho 5, pues ya está, victoria.
But when the win goes to CYNIC here, 2-1. What an incredible job from both teams.
2-1 for CYNIC indeed. North America coming out a little bit stronger than South America, at least for this matchup here. We, Jason, going into the next chase here, taking the crows, and now it's obviously
Se va a hacer una puta mierda, literalmente.
very important here
Recordad que aquí se pelea hasta el final, aunque ya haya perdido la partida Sinners, en este caso se pelea hasta el final por el tema de los puntos de los pulgues al final de la liga.
The survivors of Sinners are playing out a good trial. You would like to have a good result, taking some confidence into next week's matchup. And Angels will now just enjoy that they've taken the win here, and I also feel that it's very well deserved if Sinners survivors are walking out of the door here. Both teams have played incredibly well.
Claro, y van a pelear que Switch se vaya sin cuerdas.
The fact that we needed 4 sets to decide this already tells us how close these teams are. And ladies and gentlemen, this was just the start of Season 10 here. We have 2 more matches.
Se escapa, aunque le tire cuervos no llega.
Tomorrow coming up. It is the win for CYNIC here. It has been the win for Invictus and the win for Lockon in the matches today. But we have more in store.
A tirarle sniper, os he fijado, primero un cuervo y luego 2, a tirarle sniper.
Before the first week
Era lo único que podía hacer para tal, pero obviamente Switch Chill no se la va a zampar.
is over. Tomorrow we are going to kick it off first with Ariandel.
Pues muy bien por Ángel. Ángel ha jugado brutal como quiere, ¿eh? En general, o sea, ha jugado súper bien. Me ha encantado, la verdad, sinceramente, me ha gustado mucho. Así una merecida victoria para CYNIC. Y nada, pensaba que iba a ganar Seniors, les veía con mejor equipo, la verdad. Pero CYNIC, la verdad, que ha mostrado un trabajo en equipo brutal y Ángel ha jugado súper bien. Y eso que el deterioro perdió. Pero vamos, increíble, la verdad, increíble. Así que nada, espero que os haya gustado las partidukis, que os hayáis entretenido un poquito, que hayáis aprendido también un poquitín. Y nada, nos vemos el lunes con el siguiente vídeo en el canal. Os quiero, chavales, chao.